The Mets dominated the Dodgers in the 1988 regular season, winning 10 of 11 games, and their confidence was sky high heading into their playoff series.
Well, we had all the confidence in the world facing the Dodgers. We pretty much thought we could handle them pretty well. Their offense wasn't tremendous, and we just thought we were the better ball club by far.
But L.A. had a different perspective.
You know, we felt pretty good about our chances against New York. We were heavy underdogs against them. And we kind of felt like they were a little bit cocky and a little bit too sure of themselves, maybe looking past us.
We've earned the right to be there. They've earned the right to be there. We're both going to start 0-0. Let's just go play.
This series might have shaped up to many as a mismatch, but the Dodgers did have a huge weapon on their side in Game 1. Orel Hershiser.
As he had done his previous 59 innings, Hershiser held the Mets scoreless into the ninth.
But the Mets finally got a run to cut the Dodger lead to 2-1, and L.A. went to the bullpen.
The one play I don't really talk about a lot, I missed the fly ball in the first game.
Shelby coming on, dives, cannot come up with it. Strawberry scores. Here comes McReynolds to the plate. He will score. Collision with Socha, and the Mets lead 3-2.
It was a very, very tough loss for us. But, as I told our players, that's the best of 7, which means you have to win 4. They've only won 1. So we bounced back today, and we're even with them.
Well, this is the 4th time in 8 years the Dodgers have made the playoffs. But this one is truly a surprise because for the past 2 seasons, the Dodgers were a mediocre baseball team at best, and they did a terrific job of rebuilding. The turnaround was solidified in February.
We're going to be coming back here to win a world championship. Also, when I step on the field, I may offend some by some of my actions, but I want to be quite honest with you, I don't step on the field to make friends.
Kirk Gibson signed as a free agent, and the Dodgers were rebuilt. He added valuable leadership, and he's a legitimate MVP candidate. Jesse Orosco, acquired from the Mets, had a decent, if unspectacular year, not the stopper that Randy Myers was for the Mets. Shortstop Alfredo Griffin picked up from the A's. Ironically, a Dwight Gooden pitch broke his hand, and he missed 2 months. And Fernando Valenzuela went down with a shoulder injury in late July. But the Dodgers were once again quick to act. Goodbye Pedro Guerrero, and hello John Tudor.
You know, to come from St. Louis, 18-plus games back to a first-place ball club, it's definitely a different situation because, in St. Louis, I was out there trying to win all the time, but here it really matters. And especially being the new guy in the block, I wanted to do well, and I'm just happy it worked out.
And through it all, manager Tom Lasorda, whom the critics were questioning last year, was now cast in the light of genius again. His only problem was with the fanatic in Philly. As with the Mets, it was a fairly easy and early clinching.
As the year went along, we were challenged time and time again, and we withstood every challenge. And we started to build character within ourselves and a team, and that's why we're here today, and we'll see how much character we got, because we got a big task ahead of us in the Mets.
Like the Mets, they are pitching deep. Former Met Tim Leary with a solid season. But the ace, and the man who could prove to be the difference, Orel Hershiser. He of the 6 straight shutouts and the record-setting 59 straight scoreless innings.
I think that Don Drysdale is probably one of the finer human beings I ever met, and I respect him as a competitor, and I thought it wouldn't have been all bad to have 2 Dodgers just sitting up there on top as a tie. But I was convinced by higher sources that they weren't going to take me out of the game. So I figured I might as well get the guy out.
The Dodgers' major problem? Losing 10 of 11 to the Mets this season.
I, in fact, don't think there's going to be a psychological difference for them or a downer for us. I think that it's a whole new thing as far as the playoffs are concerned. I've seen in '83 where we dominated the Phillies and they beat us in the playoffs, so you really can't tell.
The Mets have got such a good pitching staff that they're not going to allow a whole lot of runs, but that doesn't mean we can't beat them.
And, of course, the key statistic coming in, the Mets beating the Dodgers 10 out of 11. But Dodger manager Tom Lasorda didn't seem to care about that.
I feel so good it scares me. I can't believe that a man 61 years of age could feel this good. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I try to do is thank God for all the good things he's bestowed upon me, and then I say, boy, do I feel enthusiastic. And when I put this Dodger uniform on, there's a transformation that occurs within this body and mind that I can't find words to explain. I'm saying this, and God be my judge when I tell you this, I am, without a doubt, the happiest man in the world. And anybody, anybody who loves their job more than me.
But even losing 10 out of 11 to the Mets in the regular
Hey, listen, we finished number 1. That was what we intended to do. It didn't say how many times we had to beat each club. It just said, finish number 1. Now we're going to play them. And believe me when I tell you this, I've seen it happen before. What you do during the season doesn't make one difference once the playoffs begin. You can throw all the statistics out the window. I was here in 1974 when the lumber company of Pittsburgh, they used to call them all them big hitters, those big boppers. They beat us 11-12, and we played them in the playoffs, we beat them. And I managed in 1983 when we had beaten the Phillies 11 out of 12 times, and they beat us in the playoffs. So, hey, forget it. Don't think about it because it doesn't work.
You want a silver lining? This season, the Mets won 10 of 11 games against the Dodgers, but LA's pitching and home field advantage could make for a tough series. I talked with Rusty Staub, who studied both teams all summer.
When the Mets are on defense and they're facing the Dodger offense, do the Dodgers have the kind of offense that you could pitch around Kurt Gibson?
The Mets have had great success with Kurt Gibson. I'm sure he is going to be as keyed up as anybody because he's had such a disappointing season against the Mets. He's a quality player. He's been a spark plug for them all year long. Just how far he's going to bring them is to be seen. Ifs don't count here. You know, all the hypothetical things you just don't know. That's why it should be such a great series. There's so many ways that this series could go.
Another question. The Mets won every game at Dodger Stadium. Any particular reason, do you think?
They played well. They pitched well. The Dodgers did not play good defense. That's the one thing that I think could haunt the Dodgers. I mean, it could haunt the Mets if they have a bad series. But overall, in the course of the year, the Dodger defense is probably the only area where they have more question marks than other places.
Having watched the Mets all year, how do you like them going into the playoffs?
Well, Davey's done no matter how you want to approach it, he has tried to prepare that team by giving guys innings off, keeping them sharp without putting them through the test and making them play 9 innings. He has tried to prepare this team as good as he could. As early as he's cinched this thing, he's tried to give them enough rest, yet play them all the time. I think all the preparations have been done correctly here. It's just who's going to do the job in this short series.
Now, as far as the Dodgers are concerned, it seems that a bunch of no-name guys came through in the clutch when holes opened up due to injuries and a couple of instances where there were slumps. This is a team that seems to have very little pressure on itself because it went from last to first.
A lot of credit has to go there. They did go into the free agent market for the first time and brought a few people there. It's paid off for them. The facts are there. They for the last 2 years have not played good baseball. This year they won a division and they won it handily almost. They were the dominant team all year long. Sal, you know, you can beat a dead horse sometimes. This series is a very, very exciting series. It's always an exciting series when you have the East Coast against the West Coast, and particularly New York against Los Angeles. I think the fans are going to be as excited as they've ever been.
The Dodgers moved from Brooklyn 30 years ago, breaking the hearts of their fans. But, of course, in the playoffs now for the first time, it's the team that left Brooklyn against the team that came to New York and took its place. But the Brooklyn Dodger does live, at least in name only. It's the name of a bar where past and present come together.
A lot of the old fans come by, and they're happy to see the old pictures and stuff, but again, they root against the Dodgers as hard as anybody. They want the Mets all the way. A lot of the Mets fans are younger, so I'm quite sure they'll be yelling a lot louder than
the old Brooklyn Dodgers. Great ball club, a good ball club. I come up in the chain. I spent my first years in Brooklyn and went out to L.A., and I played with the Mets also. I got a soft spot in my heart for both teams, although I must say that I have more friends on the New York Mets right now than I do on the Dodgers. But in a short series, anybody can win.
1958, when I was playing with the Flint Celtics, the last game at Ebbets Field, before they closed, I was in the last game in Ebbets Field. Then they started tearing it down. But most of the people here in New York are just baseball fans. You know, they're not the Mets or the Yankees. You're baseball fans now. We're waiting for the World Series to come on. you're waiting to see who's going to have the odds on, whatever. But we're all baseball fans.
I remember Duke Snyder and Gil Hodges and Pee Wee Reese and Roy Campanella and Jackie Robinson. And then it just faded. Baseball faded for me, I guess, for many, many years until I got older, and then I became interested in the Mets, basically because of Casey Stengel. He was such a character, and you couldn't help but like the Mets. And like him, he made you want to watch, whether they were winning or losing, which they did most of the time.
Oh, I hope the Mets win, but I don't really know anything about baseball. I just like the club here. I think it's a great place.
I was one of those kids in the bleachers at Ebbets Field Saturdays and Sundays in my youth, and I'll tell you what, that was the last team I ever rooted for. And with all that unrequited love in Brooklyn, there are still very few people who you will find rooting for the Dodgers in this series because the Mets indeed have taken their place in our hearts. Len, in Los Angeles, do you find that the Dodgers, in their view, are a lock against the Mets?
No. One of the Mets told me that he thought it all came down to this. The Mets will take the field expecting to win. The Dodgers will take the field being surprised if they win. Now, the Dodgers know they are the underdog here. My feeling is with Orel Hershiser in Game 1, I figure the Dodgers to win that game. He is on such a roll with his record of 59 consecutive innings. It'll be very difficult for the Mets to beat him, even with Dwight Gooden in the twilight here. So I give Game 1 to the Dodgers. Game 2, now with Tudor not starting, certainly Cone should have the edge on Belcher. So now you split going back to New York, and that's what the Mets would hope for, and then the Mets have the edge. But if something should happen in Game 2 and the Dodgers go up 2-0, then you start to look at a big momentum change, and maybe the Dodgers could actually do it then. What do you think?
It's ironic that the Dodgers made their big deal trading away Guerrero to get Tudor, and as if the Mets needed more good news, Tudor can't go until Game 3.
Yeah, they're going to go with a three-man rotation. With Tudor in 3, Belcher in 2. Now Leary, who the former Met, who had been very successful, now he comes out of the bullpen. Remember Jesse Orozco? He's in the bullpen, not having a terrific year. They also have Jay Howell, so the Mets have the edge with Randy Meyer. But going with the three-man rotation, putting so much on Hershiser to possibly win 3 games, it's Hershiser against the Mets, and it's very possible he could do it.
Okay, bottom line, what's your pick in the series?
I'm hedging. I like the Mets, but I also like Hershiser. So I guess my prediction is the Mets win it, but it's possible that Hershiser can carry the Dodgers. But yes, I'm going with the Mets.
I'm going with the Mets, too. Otherwise, I might be attacked after the show. I like them in 6 games.
All right.
Thank you very much for watching our special about the Mets and Dodgers. For Len Berman, I'm Sal Marciano.
The streak has been snapped in a dramatic comeback. Orel Hershiser's record for consecutive innings pitched without giving up a run ended at 67 innings tonight. The Mets come back in the top of the 9th to beat the Dodgers 3-2, and the Mets take a 1-0 lead now in that best-of-7 series. They've been in L.A. for 31 years now, but memories of the Brooklyn Dodgers still live on out there. All right, bottom of the first, the Dodgers get on the board on Doc on 2 opposite-field singles. That broken bat single by Mike Marshall brought Steve Sachs home. It was 1-0 Dodgers. Well, Doc Gooden, though, pitched one whale of a ball game. Here with 2 on and no out in the 3rd, he struck out the side. There were 2 on, sending Marshall down to end the inning, one of 10 strikeouts for Gooden. But in the 7th, Alfredo Griffin, who had his hand broken by Gooden back in May, hit a single to right. He scored Mike Scioscia, who had doubled 2-0 Dodgers, so here come the Rally Cats. From the Mets, top of the 9th inning, and that is Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry off Hershiser, into the gap in right center field. That will score Greg Jeffries, and that will make it a 2-1 ball game and send Orel Hershiser out of the game. The streak snapped. Jay Howell now in relief, and Gary Carter becomes the hero. He slams one to center field. John Shelby comes digging for it. Looked like he had a chance, but no, he couldn't hold on. Strawberry scores. Kevin McReynolds on his way in. Mike Scioscia is one big bear, but Kevin McReynolds said, "Get out of my way." Scored right over him. They gave the Mets the lead. It was 3-2, and there's Davey Johnson saying, "Yeah, I like it a lot." So we take it to the final out. Randy Myers in relief, got the win, getting Rick Dempsey to pop out to Wally Backman, and that was it. 3-2, the Mets win it. That's how it went in L.A., and there was also a reaction in Brooklyn at the bar that we've been at. Louis Young was out there a little while ago. Here's how they reacted to it. Yeah, they were going crazy at the Dodger Stadium bar, but hey, The Mets go up 1-0 in the best-of-7 series. And now, standing by in L.A. with more is Corey McPherrin. Corey.
Guess who we got with us? The big guy, Darryl Strawberry, the man to drive in the first run against Oral Hershiser since August the 30th. Congratulations. That was a tremendous at-bat. You were really focused, weren't you?
Yes, a situation like that, I was really geared in, and I really bear down because I know how important it was for us to try to get a run in. I wasn't up there trying to hit the ball at the ballpark. I was trying to make good contact and come up with a base hit since Greg Jeffrey was on second base and try to make things happen for us in the ninth.
You've been 0 for 3 against Oral tonight. Did you learn something in the first 3 at-bats?
I think the thing I learned is to be a little bit more patient against him, and you have to wait till you make mistakes, so don't chase his pitches. My early 3 at-bats were chasing a lot of bad pitches and grounding out, and my first at-bat, I think I was just a little too anxious. I got a fastball down the middle, and I popped it up. But that at-bat was the most important bat that could turn this whole series around for me, and I should go out and have a great one.
All right, now what does this do for your team? You beat their big guy, the guy they had to have win tonight. What does this do for the series?
Well, it gives us a little bit more motivation coming into tomorrow's night ball game. It makes us feel that since we came back and won a game like that, things have changed our way. We got David Cone on the mound tomorrow. He's a 20-game winner for us. He's had an outstanding year for us. So it just makes more confidence in the ball club and makes us believe that we can go out and win tomorrow's game, too.
Darryl, finally, we talked about it earlier today. I got to ask you one more time. Clarify your statements about wanting to come to Los Angeles in 2 years. What's the story here?
I think everybody will understand that situation. It was a situation where the L.A. writer Ross was back in New York a couple of weeks back, and he was asking me how do I feel about going back to Los Angeles for the National League Championship. I said, good. And he said, how about feeling your future plans that are playing in L.A.? Hey, it's a kid dream growing up that you would like to play in your hometown, but I'm not saying I'm going to play here. You know, I'm a New York Met, and I represent the New York Mets, and I'm going to continue to play with them and see what happens. You know, when my contract comes to an end at that point, that's up to the Mets and me, and we have to sit down and make some decisions of what we're going to do with my future.
So the chances, are they 50-50 right now? How would you rate them?
Well, I couldn't say 50-50 right now. You know, I've been a Met for 6 years now, and you know, the Mets have treated me great, and I love the New York Mets, so I'm not taking anything away from the Mets. We'll just wait and see what happens.
Okay. Darryl, go get him tomorrow night.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, Darryl Strawberry live here at Los Angeles Dodger Stadium where the Mets pull it out in the 9th inning, Game 2 tomorrow night. We'll see you tomorrow at 5, 6, and after the game. Scotty.
All right, Corey, thank you very much. Darryl's happy, the Mets are happy. Hey, can it get any better than this? That's right. I'm Scott Clark. That's it for Sarah.
And better late than never after the debate. Welcome to Los Angeles. Live at Dodger Stadium for Game 2 of the National League Championship Series. I'm Al Michaels. If you missed it this afternoon at Fenway Park in Boston, the American League Series got underway today, and the Oakland A's beat the Boston Red Sox by a score of 2-1. Meanwhile, here last night, the Mets down to their final strike. Gary Carter with a double. They win the game 3-2. Tim McCarver, as we get set for this one, the Dodgers could not have suffered a more frustrating and gut-wrenching loss. What mind games do they play with themselves?
Well, in order to energize, you got to rationalize, and they hope to go back to Shea 1-1. The Mets, of course, hope to drop the hammer and go back 2-0.
And meanwhile, Jim Palmer, of course, is with us. Dodgers making a lineup change tonight.
More offense, that's what they want, and they lost 3-2 last night, struggled all September, so they put Mickey Hatcher in for Franklin Stubbs.
He'll hit second. The game is about ready to begin. Len Dykstra ready to stand in to get things underway, as the Mets last night had Mookie Wilson in the lineup leading off. Wilson playing center field, but it's Dykstra in there tonight, and that's the only change Davey Johnson has made. The rest of the lineup is the same, of course, with the exception of David Cone, who does the pitching. Last night, Dwight Gooden pitched very well, did not figure in the decision. And tonight it's Cone working against Tim Belcher, who has a decent chance to be the National League Rookie of the Year. So here we go in Game 2 as Dykstra takes up high, ball 1. Dykstra, Jeffries, and Hernandez. Dykstra, for the better part of the last 3 years, has been in a platoon situation with Wilson. And Lenny had the job on a more regular basis for much of this year, but then Wilson was inserted into the lineup in a series here in August. Mookie got hot, and he began to play every day. Dykstra, good speed, and he'll bunt, and thus Hamilton is in on the grass at third, and Hatcher is shortened up at first as well as Belcher throws a strike. 2-1 the count. The thing about Belcher, Jim, the Dodgers know he can throw. He can throw very, very hard, and there was some thought earlier this season of turning him into a short reliever.
Well, he did that for a while, and you saw the 4 saves. Jay Howell with a rib injury, he came in, he did that. He has that kind of stuff, overpowering fastball, 90 plus. But what has made him as good as he has been is other pitches. And there's one of them right there. Looked like a little bit of a slider. He does have the slider to go with the curveball, and I think maybe the best pitch he has from an off-speed standpoint is that split-fingered fastball.
And Lenny fouls it away. This game was originally scheduled as a day game. It was to have started shortly past noon in Los Angeles, but because of the vice presidential debate, the switch was made, and the American League went from night to day. And we mentioned Oakland won today by a score of 2-1. And this one was pushed back, and right now it's 7:13 on the coast. Lifted to left. And Kirk Gibson is there. One away. So Dykes been taken care of. And it will bring up Greg Jeffries.
An interesting thing to me, Timmy, is the way Belcher went after him. He has good enough stuff to get behind the hitters, yet I think enough confidence, especially at this point in the season where he's pitched very well as a starter, to come right after you when he has to.
Yeah, and there are different ways to make outs, too. He threw 9 pitches to Lenny Dykstra, fouling off 3 pitches. So even though Dykstra did make an out, you mentioned Belcher throwing all those pitches getting into the 5th inning. Little chin music there.
Well, he mentioned to me before the game, he said, it seemed to me, after watching last night, that a lot of left-handed hitters were looking for that ball away from Hershiser. A little bit too comfortable.
I think the chin music was a measure of the respect that the Dodgers have to have for Jeffries. Last night, at the age of 21, the youngest to play in a championship series, and he winds up going 3 for 4. And there is Orel Hershiser in the middle. No decision last night. That's drilled into the right field corner, and in for extra bases, a ground rule double as it bounces into the seats. And so Jeffries, who was called up from Tidewater just prior to the 1st of September to be eligible for the playoffs, broke in with a big flourish with the Mets. He tailed off the final 2 weeks of the regular season and red hot in the playoffs.
This is a high breaking ball right here, and breaking balls of that nature are very difficult to pull. Usually the high breaking ball is right around the belt. That was right around the letters, and that's an out pitch for a lot of guys.
Well, yeah, you see it coming up, you see the spin, and you usually are way out in front of it. But if you go back to last night's ball game, all 3 hits were on fastballs, and if you can read lips, and we had a couple of camera shots of Tommy, he said, don't throw him the fastball. So he threw him a curveball, and when you're hot, you're hot. You hit anything.
Keith Hernandez at the plate. Inside, and the count 1-0.
Jeffries starting off like he did during the regular season. Through his first 13 games, he batted .462, and there's that high breaking ball. That's a very difficult pitch to pull. A lot of left-handers jam themselves with that ball, hit that anemic flare to left field.
2-0 the count. And he's 3-0 now on Hernandez, with Jeffries at second base, 1 out in the 1st inning. Strawberry on deck. 3-2 to Hernandez is outside. So Keith is on. Belcher has already thrown a lot of pitches here in the 1st inning, and Strawberry comes up.
Right fielder, Darryl Strawberry.
Scioscia goes to the mound. And the Dodgers defensively, with the outfield of Gibson, Shelby, and Marshall. Hamilton is at 3rd, Griffin at short, Sachs at 2nd, and Hatcher. The lineup change at 1st with Stubbs back on the bench. Scioscia back of the plate, and Belcher now working on Strawberry. 2 on, 1 out in the 1st inning. And Darryl looks at a strike. 0-1.
How about the line from Jim Murray's column? He said he's got a Will Rogers strike zone. He never saw a pitch he didn't like. Over his head, in the dirt, which is why he's never really hit for a high average, or at least as high as a lot of people thought he would do.
Soft looper, right to Griffin. spin, and he tags Jeffries for the double play. An unassisted double play, and the Mets are done in the first. No score. David Cone, a tremendous season. Let's get the inside pitch on him from longtime Philly star Mike Schmidt.
In pressure-packed playoff games, hitters love to hit fastballs. This is going to give David Cone a distinct advantage. He loves to throw breaking pitches. He has a hard, crisp breaking curve, crisp breaking slider. He'll throw them from over the top, from down on the side. That's not to say he doesn't have a good fastball. He'll average about 90 miles an hour throughout the ball game with his fastball. He'll also drop down when he throws his fastball, too. He's good at holding runners on, a pretty good fielder. He hits left-handed. He does the little things you need to do as a hitter, too.
So David Cone facing this lineup. Sachs, the one-change Hatcher at first base. Gibson, then Marshall, Shelby, and Scioscia. Hamilton, Griffin, and Belcher, who gets a break to get out of the first inning on the soft liner by Strawberry right into the glove of Griffin. And then Jeffries is trapped off second. Defensively for the Mets, the outfield is McReynolds, Dykstra, Strawberry. Jeffries at third, Johnson at short, Backman at second, and Hernandez at first with Carter back at the plate and Cone on the mound.
I think Mike Schmidt made a great point talking about most hitters wanting to hit fastballs and more susceptible to fastballs during a playoff series. The reason for that is, boy, I'll tell you, the energy level is very, very high, and it's very tough to adjust to off-speed pitches, especially early in the ball game, because everybody's geared up for that number one.
Of course, unless you're Greg Jeffries.
Right.
But Belcher's, his theory, of course, of pitching against the Mets is that they are a better fastball hitting ball club. Now, the man we're going to see for the Mets tonight, David Cone, has a lot of options. Mike Schmidt said it very well. He throws from all different angles. He's got two overhand fastballs, one across the seams, one with the seams, but also drop down and sidearm. He's got two curveballs, one overhand, one sidearm. Good slider and a good split finger fastball, which I think is the difference in his success.
Steve Sachs leading things off. Sachs, last night's single, stole second, went to third on a grounder and scored on a single by Marshall. He'll be followed by Hatcher and Gibson. 1-0 the count. Bottom of the first inning, no score in game two. The umpires tonight, John McSherry works the plate. Joe West is at first, Dutch Leonard second. Bob Davidson is at third. Down the line and left is Paul Runge, and Harry Wendelstedt, who worked the plate last night, is down the line in right. To the left side on a split finger, and the shortstop Johnson throws him out. So Sachs grounds out to start the bottom of the first inning, and it will bring up Mickey Hatcher.
Mickey Hatcher.
Well, here's that split finger fastball that Timmy was talking about. What makes that pitch so great is the way the ball goes down. And it's kind of elementary when you get it to Hojo, who's played shortstop, third base for the Mets. Strong arm makes the play look routine. A lot of people think, a lot of people think that pitch is so successful because even if you don't get it down, it's still an off-speed pitch.
1-0 on Hatcher. Mickey is a free swinger. He rarely walks and rarely strikes out. He walked 7 times this season and struck out only 7 times. So he's the kind of guy you can count on to put the ball in play, in as much as he was up 191 times this year.
It should be Mickey Hacker instead of Mickey Hatcher.
Fouled off, and the count 2-2.
What makes those statistics even more demonstrative is, of course, 3 of those walks were intentional. He didn't want to walk. They wanted to walk him, of course.
Cone drops down and almost drops it in on Hatcher. Mickey nearly stepping into the pitch. It's 3-2.
That is the danger with that pitch. If you get the batter to have that left side leave and then don't get it away, it's danger time.
And Hatcher pops his foul off to the right. Hernandez comes over to the dugout with Carter, but it's back out of play. Count remains 3-2.
Say left side leaving, meaning for a right-handed hitter to pull that left leg. A lot of guys refer to it as jelly legs. When a pitcher drops down like that, you're a right-handed hitter. That front side usually bails out. And it's very important because of that flat trajectory of the breaking ball to keep it away. It's not the quality breaking ball that gets a hitter out. It's the motion of dropping down.
He calls it his Laredo curveball,
yeah.
which is south of the border. It's embarrassing, though, when you leave it inside and the guy whacks it.
And Hatcher is on. So a rarity, and as much as we pointed out, only 4 unintentional walks all year. And Mickey is on with 1 out in the first inning, and it brings up Gibson.
That ball split the middle of the plate.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, Harry Wendelstedt called one of the great games last night. That's last night. Look at this pitch. Now, maybe it was low, but boy, that looks like it's right in the center of the plate.
I think Mickey right there kind of got the walk because he took off for first base looking for a ball and just ran on down there. And I think he may have enticed John McSherry to call it a ball. It was a late call there. That ball right down Broadway or La Cienega. What coast are we on? Left coast, right. Sunset.
Hatcher at first base. Not only did he not have a steal this season, he did not have an attempt. As Gibson hits a soft fly ball to left field, and McReynolds takes care of it for out number 2. So Gibson going after the first pitch, flies out, and Kirk now begins the playoff series 0 for 5, and it will bring up Mike Marshall. Marshall led the Dodgers in RBIs this season, and last night he drove in the Dodgers' first run in the first inning. He has spent a lot of time on the shelf through his career, and especially in the last 2 seasons, always in and out of the lineup, but he was an Iron Man this year for the most part, as he wound up playing in 144 games. However, his back, and that's been a chronic problem for Mike, acted up in midseason, and he requested the move from first base to right field. 0-1. It turned out to be a pretty convenient move for the Dodgers because Mike Davis had been playing right and he wasn't hitting a lick, so they moved Marshall to right and put Guerrero at that time at first base.
I asked him about that. He said if the guy in right field, talking about Mike Davis, was going good, so to speak, he would not have suggested that, but he wasn't.
Carter blocks it, then Hatcher takes off late, but time had been called on a balk by a balk call against Cone. And Carter says, what?
Now McSherry didn't call it. I think it was called by second base umpire Dutch Rennert. He's the one who held the hands up. David Cone with 10 balks on the season. And now he's asking Howard Johnson. Now Joe West, I guess, was responsible for calling it, the first base umpire. But Cone was asking Howard Johnson if he came to a stop or Jeffries, because Jeffries, as the third baseman, has the best view of Cone coming to a stop. Nope, it was the third base umpire, Bob Davidson.
And of course, this is a big complaint in baseball. Mickey Hatcher, no steals, not a running situation. You call a balk, and the guy has no intention of running.
Cone this season plagued by balks. He had 10 during the regular year as Marshall lifts a fly ball to shallow left field. In comes McReynolds, and he slides, and he can't make the play, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. So the Dodgers cash in on a big break. Hatcher walks on what appears to be strike 3. The balk moves him to second. And then a little fly ball dropping in between McReynolds, Dykstra, and Johnson.
Now this is the balk. Now if he did not come to a discernible stop, I tell you, I don't know what Bob Davidson was looking at.
Seemed like the guy who did come to a discernible stop was Howard Johnson, the shortstop.
Here's Shelby looping one, and a great catch made by Backman as Wally goes out onto the grass to make the play. But the Dodgers take the lead here in the first, 1-0 LA after 1.
Here's how the Dodgers scored their run. Marshall hits it off the end of the bat. And in my opinion, Howard Johnson's got to take charge here. And the reason for that is Dykstra and McReynolds both have to play Marshall deep and respect his power. I think if Johnson goes after that ball right away, he makes the play.
Oh, no doubt about it. But again, if you ask Davey Johnson, how does he describe a team when Howard Johnson, who is now at bat, is out in the field in defense? He says it's my offensive ball club. Howard's played third base most of the year, but yes, the ball is catchable.
He's a left side of the infield infielder, and in my opinion, that makes it a lot easier to make a play like that because you're a left side of the infield infielder. Third baseman, shortstop.
McReynolds leads off, taking high, ball 1-0. Were this earlier in the season or before they called Jeffries up, Johnson would probably be at third. Elster would have been at short, Backman at second. But with Jeffries joining the club and Johnson wanting to get Davey, that is, wanting to get Jeffries into the lineup, he's moved Johnson over to short and put Elster on the bench. 1 ball and 1 strike on McReynolds. 1-2.
Of course, you have so much more responsibility as a shortstop on pop flies. Behind third base, you have the best angle. Of course, I think also left fielder and center field, realizing that Howard Johnson's at short, they have more responsibility too.
Waved at and missed, and Belcher gets his first strikeout. 1 gone here in the second inning.
Batting 6, number 20, shortstop.
So again, a lot of times, even if you don't throw the ball that hard, where you throw it is important. Right on the outside corner, you can see by this swing that he did not expect the ball that far away. And McReynolds, one of the hottest hitters the Mets have had.
That's a quality pitch right
great
there.
Pitch.
So 1 out, and here is Howard Johnson, the switch hitter. 230, the composite figure as a left-handed batter. He had 250 this year, and his postseason mark there, 0 for 12, encompasses his time with the Tigers as well, though he played in a limited sense in 1984's postseason play against Kansas City in the playoffs and San Diego in the World Series. Belcher figures to be, hands down, the rookie pitcher of the year. Will he be the rookie of the year? Well, his toughest competition will come from the Reds' Chris Sabo, who really tailed off in the second half, and the Cubs' Mark Grace. Strike. 0-1.
Ron Gant of the Atlanta Braves had 19 home runs and 60 RBIs to lead all major league rookies. So he would have to be a consideration.
And again, as we mentioned last night, this has nothing to do with it. All of those ballots, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, Manager of the Year, all in to be announced in November. Appeal, get the call from Davidson, who's now been involved in 2 calls already. 0-2, both going against the Mets.
Well, take a look for yourself. The bat go across the plate. Of course, that's not the best angle. Davison down at third does have it. Of course, Sosha helps out too. Right there, he points, gets the umpire's attention, and he got the call.
0-2 the count, 1 out.
I think last night was an indication of how the Dodgers plan on pitching Howard Johnson. 1 breaking ball after another. Jay Howell threw in 5 in a row last night. No fastballs to hit.
And there's a wasted fastball on the count, 1-2.
One of those Missouri fastballs right there, just showing it to him.
Well, you know, one of the greatest places to learn about pitching, of course, is to sit on the bench and watch. And Tim Belcher says it didn't look like he adjusted too well for the breaking ball. To also keep in mind that the breaking curveball is his 3rd best pitch, maybe 4th. And there it is again.
So Johnson figures to see a steady diet of those, and he's now 0 for 13 career postseason. 2 down, Gary Carter coming up. 2 hits last night, including the big one. And here it was. If Shelby makes the catch, the game is over. The score at this point is 2-1. The count is 0-2. Soft looper off the very end of the bat. Shelby can't make the catch. Strawberry scores the tying run, and McReynolds comes around after Shelby has trouble coming up with it, barrels into Sosha, and scores what turns out to be the winning run. And of all things, Gary Carter could have been a Dodger. He went to high school with Tom Lasorda's daughter, who recommended Gary to Tommy, who was in the Dodger organization at the time. And they scouted him, but they didn't like him. And they also thought he'd probably sign a football letter of intent with UCLA. So they didn't take a chance. 3-2 to Carter. Hit high in the air, down the line, and into the corner, and Gibson has room and makes the catch to retire the side. That's gone in order at the end of an inning and a half in Los Angeles. Dodgers 1, Mets nothing. Goodyear Blimp Columbia hovering above Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles on a beautiful night, temperature in the 70s and in the neighborhood of 53, 54,000 looking on. Dodger Stadium, the site for Game 2 of the National League Championship Series. Mets won last night. 3-2, trail here. Dodgers 1, Mets nothing, bottom of the second, as Social leads off. And this game has begun in a remarkably similar sense to last night's game. In the first inning last night, the inning ended on a line drive double play by Hernandez. And tonight it ends on a line drive double play by Strawberry as Socha takes a strike. Last night, the Dodgers scratched out a run in the bottom of the first inning, a looping single by Marshall. And tonight they scratch out a run in the bottom of the first on a looping single by Marshall. And then the Mets went out in order last night in the second, 1-2-3. So as we come to you on videotape, 0-2 pitch is outside, 1-2. He hits a high drive to right field. Strawberry backs up and makes the catch. Socha, he's a big guy and he's a catcher, and you'd think of him as a power hitter, but he's really not. Mike, in an 8.5-year career, has hit a total of 35 homers.
Well, that swing was a perfect example why he's not. Now, it looks like he gets all of this. He's up on the bat, which shows you he's trying to make contact. I mean, this is a good swing, and the ball just gets to the warning track. And I talked to him. I said, haven't you ever had the urge to be a home run hitter, 220 pounds? He said, I never hit home runs in high school. I tried it in 81, the worst year I ever had.
Hamilton now takes a strike, and the count is 0-1.
I mean, you look at him, 220, you think home run hitter, but he does so many other things well, throwing, blocking the plate, that you don't expect the power. You don't even want it, really. You just want him to be what he does.
Home run hitting really requires more than power. It requires a great deal of lift also. Willie Stargell was a guy who was a very big man and not pound for pound real strong, but he had such tremendous lift in his swing. Hall of Famer this year.
And Hamilton gets hit by the pitch. So again, Cone drops down, and when he did that to Hatcher, he almost hit Mickey, and here he drops down and hits Hamilton.
Batting 8, number 7, shortstop, Alfredo Griffin.
Once again, he drops down with 2 strikes. 213 strikeouts in 231 innings. He does not want to do this, especially with the 2 strikes. Head of the hitter. And as Timmy said, when you drop down, you can't get the ball inside. Now, if he got it in a little, obviously a little more, he would have hit him with more authority, but he's got to get the ball away. Shows me he does not really have control of his pitches at this point.
Griffin fouls it back, and the count is 0-1.
I mean, the amazing thing, he is the toughest right-handed pitcher on right-handed batters in the National League. Only hit 165 against him. And what amazes me also is that the fact that a lot of times when you drop down, it gets you out of rhythm. So to be able to do what he's done this year, all the strikeouts, only 10 home runs, low ERA, 20 wins, he's got to be a little bit more consistent than he has been tonight so far.
Waved at and missed, and the count is 0-2. Waved at, and down he goes futilely on a split finger. So Griffin back to the dugout, out number 2, and it will bring up Belcher.
What sets this up, of course, is the fastball. Now watch this ball tumble. You can see it tumbling. You can see the wave way out on your front foot. Don't want to be in that position when you're a hitter.
That's a key word, tumbling, because when you do make contact, you make contact with a heavy object. Hitters like to hit balls that really resonate off the barrel of the bat. They want it crisp, but when you hit that split finger, that heavy sinker, it's kind of a thud. There's no kick.
Belcher hits one into center field for a base hit. And Hamilton will stop at second. So Belcher comes up with an 0.71 regular season average. He was 4 for 56.
Second baseman.
Let's not forget that home run, though.
Yep. September 11th against Tom Browning.
Well, look good in batting practice. That's usually not any indication of how a pitcher's going to hit. but he is strong at 6'3", over 210 pounds, and he just really topspin that ball in the center field.
He was a catcher and an outfielder in high school in Mount Gilead, Ohio, and really was a converted pitcher when he went to college.
He was, I guess, the oddest 4 for 56 I've ever seen. You would figure a guy would be 4 for 56 with 4 singles. He had a home run and 2 doubles and only 1 single all year. So Belcher keeps it alive with 2 out in the bottom of the second inning. Hamilton at second and Belcher at first, and Steve Sachs takes a curve for a strike. 0-1. Bob O'Heat on the left, and you saw Johnson, Tommy Lasorda.
Excuse me, out 4-19 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. And of course, no wonder they said Sachs is the key to this offense.
And that's grounded back through the middle, base hit. Hamilton around third. He'll come in to score, and it's 2-0 Dodgers.
Nobody to blame but himself. He balked Hatcher to second base. He hit Jeff Hamilton. Tim Belcher, the pitcher, gets a base hit. And when all of those things, when you allow all of those things to happen, balls have a tendency to trickle through like that.
Especially when you fall off to the left as dramatically as Cone does.
You know, you said the ball wasn't hit real well, or Marshall's ball was a flare, but what did you do to lead up to that? Things go badly when you're the type of pitcher who is pitched like David has right now, really carelessly.
Outside, and Carter knocks it down. No advancement by the runners as Belcher remains at second and Sachs at first with 2 out. Dodgers leading 2-0 in the second.
This ball fools Gary. On the fastball, you'll see a lot of catchers go at it with the mitt because the ball's on top of them too quickly. Carter couldn't find that ball, but the runners failed to advance.
One and one. Ahead on Hatcher, 1 and 2. And a breaking pitch is in fair down the left of the line and into the corner. Belcher will come in to score. Sachs is being waved in by Amalfitano. Here comes the relay from Johnson. Carter's tag. No, he's safe. Puts Mickey Hatcher into the lineup to stir things up, and that's exactly what he's done.
Well, here's the result of a hanging slider. We talk about quality pitches. Right in the middle of the plate, Hatcher hit a rocket. Sachs with great speed is going to score. See the end of the play right here. 42 steals. You see a little bit of speed, and that's why he beats this play. Very close. Tough to tell from that angle.
He looks safe to me. Looked like the tag was made on the plate. Let's check it from this angle. See, Carter has to go out for the ball, and now when he comes back, the weight's not on his left foot. He's safe. Easy safe.
Yep.
Not even close. Good call.
That angle proves it. And John McSherry right there to call it. Hatcher at second. Dodgers lead 4-0. All season long, and counting last night's game, the Dodgers had never scored more than 2 runs in an inning this year against the Mets, but they have 3 here in the second, and Gibson comes up. Another look, and this is conclusive evidence. He is safe.
Well, great throw by Howard Johnson, but again, just beats it.
And a good play by Joey Amalfitano, the third base coach, too, knowing when to send him with 2 outs. Saw Sam Palazzo of the Mets make a good play in last night's game as Kevin McReynolds scored the winning run. They're going to put him on now. I'll tell you, if you don't think the Dodgers aren't eating this up, especially since David Cone has become a sports writer.
David Cone has given the Dodgers whatever extra incentive might have been necessary. He is writing a column. What he's really doing is he's being interviewed by Bob Klapisch of the New York Daily News after the game. And then Klapisch is penning the column with Cone's byline. And today, it became clubhouse fodder for the Dodgers because he talked about the fact that they knew once they got Hershiser out of the game last night, they were going to win. He mocked Jay Howell for throwing so many curveballs and pretty much let the Dodgers have it as Marshall grounds it into right field for a base hit. Around third comes Hatcher, and he'll score as Gibson goes to third. It's 5-0. Johnson with Aguilera in the pen has watched the Dodgers now hit around.
I guess the moral to this story is if you're going to write a column in the paper during the playoffs, make it a column like Ann Landers or Dorothy Manners or something like that. Don't be a sports writer because all you can do is intimidate the opposition. And I'll tell you, this is a different Dodger club. They're going for the throat tonight.
Shelby takes inside. Well, this will be the story of the game if the Dodgers hold on and win it.
Yes, sir.
Because the Dodgers, they were furious, Lasorda in particular, before the game because word not only reached L.A., they had a copy of the column and posted it in the clubhouse as Shelby fouls it off. The funny thing is, just to follow up on it, I talked to Bob Klapisch before the game and I said, what about tomorrow? Does Cone want to end his career tonight as a writer? He said, no. He said, that's what I said. I'll continue on. We'll see.
He didn't deny any of it either.
No.
I can't believe he said any of it. He didn't deny it. Once Klapisch showed it to him, he did not deny it, though.
Well, here's a guy that said, you know, when you have a good first half and you go to the All-Star team, you have to have a good second half. When you pitch well and you win 20 games, you know, what does it mean unless you have a good postseason? If you don't have a good postseason, what does it mean unless you do it in the second year? He said all these sensible things, and then he allows himself to write a column like that.
But he was amazed at the reaction to it. But the Dodgers and Lasorda, I know when I got here this afternoon, it's the first thing Tommy brought up. He said, did you see what Cone wrote? And they asked Howell about some of the comments at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and he became livid. So for whatever it's worth, it's 5-0 Dodgers, fouled away.
Well, when you consider how poorly they have hit in September, and in October, 5 runs. I mean, we're talking, what, out here? Earthquake, mudslide? Let's hope not. No. But it's almost like an avalanche of runs. They have struggled offensively. They asked him how he was going to prepare for this start. He said, I'm going to go down to the Tropicana Hotel and watch mud wrestling. So he's been very glib talking about David Cone, but he's been awful tonight.
2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Shelby strikes out, but the Dodgers send 9 men to the plate in the second inning. We'll go to the third. The Dodgers lead the Mets 5-0.
Batting 8, number 7, shortstop, Alfredo Griffin.
Once again, he drops down with 2 strikes. 213 strikeouts in 231 innings. He does not want to do this, especially with the 2 strikes. Head of the hitter. And as Timmy said, when you drop down, you can't get the ball inside. Now, if he got it in a little, obviously a little more, he would have hit him with more authority, but he's got to get the ball away. Shows me he does not really have control of his pitches at this point.
Belcher hits one into center field for a base hit. And Hamilton will stop at second. So Belcher comes up with an .071 regular season average. He was 4 for 56.
And of course, no wonder they said sacks is a key to this offense.
And that's grounded back through the middle, base hit. Hamilton around third. He'll come in to score, and it's 2-0 Dodgers. And a breaking pitch is in fair down the left field line and into the corner. Belcher will come in to score. Sachs is being waved in by Amalfitano. Here comes a relay from Johnson. Carter's tag. No, he's safe. Let the Dodgers have it as Marshall grounds it into right field for a base hit. Around third comes Hatcher, and he'll score as Gibson goes to third. It's 5-0. You know, it's funny when you talk about Tim Belcher. He has pitched well in September, but his luck has been something else. He was on the other end of Tom Browning's perfect game in Cincinnati. Now, all of a sudden, he has a 5-0 lead, Jim. So what is his approach at this point?
Well, throw strikes, which he's had trouble in the past, but not this year. Of course, that no-hitter was a 1-0 ball game, so you lose the no-hitter, but you pitch extremely well. Gives up 1 run tonight. They're going home winners.
And with a 5-run lead in the third inning, I'll guarantee if Tim comes up lame, you'll have 8 pitchers over there stretching their arms. They'll do anything to use 5 runs, right, Jim?
Oh, yes.
Well, the Dodgers are really in virgin territory. Remember, they hit .205 as a team through the month of September. Backman leads off in the third by taking a strike in the count of 1-1. Backman and then Cone due up next, but already Mackey Sasser has come out on deck. And Aguilera in the bullpen. So David Cone, not that he wanted to beat the deadline because it's 11 o'clock Eastern time, but he can get an early start on tomorrow's column.
Now, that's the irony of ironies, because what he's maybe trying to do is get an early start on being a sports writer. That's what he said he wanted to do after his career was over. But when you're 26 years old, you got a long time to play, you hope.
Well, when you get knocked out in the second inning, you make the Bulldog edition. And I'm not talking about Hershiser either. Backman strikes out, and the out is officially recorded at first base.
I agree wholeheartedly that you shouldn't be writing an article, especially when it takes on that vindictive nature that this article apparently did. But, I mean, I don't think the Mets management really has the responsibility of controlling Cone to that degree.
For the pitcher, Cone. Number 2.
So
they
Cone
wish they
is
had. Pardon me, Al.
Yep, here's Sasser. Sasser, who backs up Gary Carter along with Barry Lyons. The Mets carry 3 catchers. Came over in a spring training deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Good breaking pitch, and the count is 1-1.
Well, I think that answers your question. How is he going to pitch? He started him off with a curveball, missed, looked like a pretty good pitch, came right back with another one. Struck out Backman on a split-fingered fastball, which appeared to be the first one he's thrown for his 3rd strikeout. And there's another one.
1-2 the count.
Of course, that's the pitch that allowed him to get going into last Saturday's start. He had pitched 3 complete games. And the reason he didn't pitch it the other day, he went 5 innings. They wanted to see Fernando Valenzuela pitch a couple of innings. He pitched 4 innings, 4 shutout innings, I believe, but just didn't throw that well, so he wasn't activated for the playoffs.
And Sasser is down on strikes, and that's 4 strikeouts for Tim Belcher.
A nice compact wind-up early in the year. He wasn't turning enough. Certainly looks like he's doing it there. Nice follow-through. Lands on his toe, and look where the ball is. You can throw a ball by a guy there, a little bit out of the strike zone. The ball has life. And that's the one thing the Dodgers are very happy about. We've seen the curveball, we've seen the split finger, but his fastball has good movement.
Here is Dykstra, who flied to left in the first inning. Easy pop-up. Griffin, 3 up and 3 down. And 7 in a row sit down by Belcher. 5-0 LA after 2.5. Back in Los Angeles after this word from your local station.
Enjoy baseball memories throughout the years by ordering your copy of the 1988 World Series souvenir program. Packed with more than 90 pages of features, facts, and photos on the Fall Classic, this program is truly a collector's item. Get your souvenir program by sending a $6 check or money order to World Series Program, Box 88, Trenton, New Jersey, 08651. That's Box 88, Trenton, New Jersey, 08651. Be sure to include your proper return address.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
They don't come any tougher to lose for Tom Lasorda than last night's game. I asked him about the after effects.
That's a tough loss. You know, you're getting shock after you lose a game like we did last night. 2 strikes on the batter, 2 outs, and it looked like things were real good, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're losing 3-2, and we wind up losing the ball game. People have asked me today, how'd you sleep last night? I slept just like a baby. Up 1 hour and sleep 1 hour. It's tough, but we got to come back. We got to rebound. We got to come back and forget about what happened last night. We got to win this ball game tonight, Al. It's very, very important that we win this ball game tonight.
No doubt about that. And the Dodgers are on top by a score of 5-0. As we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning, and Rick Aguilera, who's battled arm problems over the past 2 seasons, comes out of the bullpen as the long man to try to keep the Mets in the game to some degree. They're already down 5-0 as Social leads off in the bottom of the 3rd inning. 5-0 LA. Socha hits a 3-1 pitch to left field, and McReynolds makes the catch for the out. So 1 away here in the 3rd inning, and it'll bring up Hamilton. Check your local listings for the game in your region Saturday. College football, Ohio State taking on Indiana, or Washington against Arizona State. College football, 3:30 Eastern time, with baseball on either end of it. National League Day prior to football, and American League night on Saturday. 1 out, 3rd inning, and Hamilton is the batter. 1-0 the count. Tim, you watched Aguilera through good times and bad, and he's undergone surgery. What about the progress he has made?
He's made fair progress. And he would not be on the active roster, as a matter of fact, were it not for the injury to Bobby Ojeda. Ojeda would be the pitcher on Saturday. As it stands, Aguilera was moved to the bullpen, and Sid Fernandez will start on Saturday against the Dodgers.
2-2.
That's a split-finger fastball, and a lot of people think that that might be the type of pitch that got him into trouble to begin with. Arthroscopic surgery back on July 13th.
Synovium tissue, something
got me.
With all my injuries, I've never even heard of that, but really scar tissue in the elbow. I always looked at him as basically, and of course 11-3 last year, talking about Rick Aguilera, sinker slider pitcher, tried to throw a curveball, and the split finger may have aggravated that. Slider's tough on your elbow.
Hamilton is on. So Jeff reaches for the 2nd time. 1 out and 1 on in the 3rd inning, and Alfredo Griffin will come to the plate. As Griffin came up, you saw that he was under 200 for the season, but 254 for his career. And you would think, well, sure, he got hit by Gooden, and it broke his hand, and that was the difference. It really wasn't. In fact, Griffin was hitting about 199 when he got hurt. Though he did have several very key hits during the month of April. It seemed every time he came up with the bases loaded, he delivered. There's a little chopper foul. And, of course, he has given the Dodgers superb defense at short. And that, along with fortifying their bullpen, was exactly what they attempted to do in their offseason transactions. Hamilton goes again. It's grounded to the right side. And Backman throws Griffin out as Hamilton advances to 2nd. So 2 down. And Belcher coming to the plate.
Of course, you know your pitcher's coming up, and he's hot because he just got a base hit the first time, so you get a runner in scoring position. So send the runner. We got a clutch hitter coming up.
Pitcher, Tim Belcher.
Never could tell if I was a former pitcher.
Of course, you played in both eras, Jim. 7 or 8 years before the DH, when the DH came in, and .73 and a long time after that.
Actually hit 229 my last year. That's when I knew they were going to go to the DH.
72.
Out hit the ball club. Out hit the ball club. We did not have a great offensive year in Baltimore that year.
Belcher hits a two-hopper. Johnson has to back up. Long throw gets him. And so at the end of 3, it remains Dodgers 5, Mets nothing. National League Championship Series, Game 2 in Los Angeles. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Dodgers on top 5-0 as they try to square the series at a game apiece. And Tim Belcher will work on Jeffries, Hernandez, and Strawberry. And Jeffries comes up 4 for 5 in the first 2 games of this series, and also this very memorable moment last night into the dugout and cradled by Tracy Woodson.
Hitting off for the Mets, third baseman.
After what happened last year with Tudor breaking his knee or leg, Barry Lyons, Mets catcher running in there, you're really just trying to save a pitcher. They're not trying to save Jeffries, even though it was a very nice gesture. Interesting point you made up. Of course, if you interfere by going out a little bit farther and he bobbles the ball or whatever, they may call him out without him actually making the play.
4th inning, Jeffries takes outside, ball 1, 1-0.
You know the tunnel in Fenway Park. Butch Hobson once launched himself down that tunnel, and I about to catch him. Then I realized it was my right arm. I said, "Bye-bye, Butch," and down he went.
Bo Jackson was launched down that tunnel in Seattle last year and almost never came back, right?
They found him in Tacoma. Fouled away, and the count 2-1.
That's where you would have found Tim Belcher last year. He pitched for Tacoma, the Oakland A's AAA team, and averaged over 7 walks a ball game. And this year, in only 2 games, has he walked as many as 4.
2-2.
No, he said, I never was really wild. He said, I only had 7 wild pitches. He said, I just did not have enough confidence to throw the ball over the plate. I think he was scared. And going back to your question 2 innings ago, how's he going to react? 5 runs gives you a lot of nerve out there. You're not afraid to throw the ball over.
3-2 the count.
It just seems from looking at John Micheri, and this is not to say he's not a good umpire, but he looks to be a hitter's umpire in the sense that he does not really have a big strike zone. Now, as a pitcher, you have to adjust. Last night, Harry Wendelstedt seemed to be more of a pitcher's umpire. All umpires are different. Roger Clemens keeps a book on umpires.
Jeffries walks to start the 4th. Well, McSherry's strike zone has helped the Dodgers tonight, and as much as we looked again at that 3-2 pitch to Hatcher, which appeared to be at the knees for strike 3. Instead, it was a walk, and a subsequent walk and a single gave the Dodgers a 1-0 lead, and they were off and running. No doubt about that one.
Managers just hate that, though. You got a 5-run lead. They'd rather see a guy hit a solo homer than see a guy walk that leads to other runs. Tommy, a former pitcher, obviously knows that.
Of course, this goes to a conversation as Mike Scioscia comes out to talk to Tim Belcher. They had a confrontation, I guess, late August or maybe just in the middle of August, where he went into Tommy's office and he said, how come I can't finish games? He said, try getting some guys out in the middle innings, then I'll let you. And he started throwing the ball over the plate, getting guys out in the 6th and 7th inning. Now, of course, he's trying to get them out in the 4th. And the way to do that, you have to make a very good point. You want them sometimes to hit a solo home run, yet you can't throw the ball over. And this man right here, Keith Hernandez, probably the most selective hitter on the Mets.
Well, the theory behind that whole thing is here it is, hit it. I'm not going to put you on. I got a 5-run lead. You got to hit it.
1-1.
Right after I say this is a disciplined hitter, he swings at a ball in the dirt. But that looked like a split-fingered fastball, and I think one of the tendencies you have when you have a big lead and you have a good arm, which Tim Belcher has, you stand out there and just throw the same pitch. You got to change him up, and he was pitched last inning. Seemed to be throwing a little bit more this inning. As I said last night, Al, Jeffries with good speed, 5 steals and only 6 attempts. But you don't have to worry about that with a 5-run lead. So you can take a little bit longer to get rid of the ball. Don't have to rush it. Makes it a little bit easier to throw strikes.
Driven to deep center field. Shelby racing all the way back, and that one is gone. So the Mets try to climb back into it as Hernandez hits a 2-run homer to make it 5-2.
And I'll guarantee it's the fact that it's a 2-run homer instead of a solo homer that is irritating Tommy Lasorda right now.
Don't forget Tim Belcher. I don't think he wanted to do it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I'm sure of that,
yeah.
certainly.
Hernandez hit 11 during the regular season, and he missed about a third of the year with a hamstring pull. Hit one on Sunday in the final regular season game. Strawberry takes inside, ball 1. 1-0, and he crushed it. Nobody out in the 4th inning. And that's hit into right field for a base hit. A walk, a home run, and now a single. The first 3 Mets reach here in the 4th. And that will provoke a visit to the mound by Ron Perinoski.
I'll tell you, I'd like to say something about both pitching coaches. They were great competitors who had great careers. Ron Perinoski and Mel Stottlemyre of the Mets. I can't think of anybody, there's Mel, who has done a better job with their pitching staffs than those 2 pitching coaches that we have here tonight. Terrific competitors as players, and they've carried over to being great pitching coaches. And Jim, you would know the definition of that more than I.
Well, you talk about Perinoski. I think Hershiser, talking about Oral Hershiser, said it very well. He said, you know, I've had the luxury of talking to Sandy Koufax, Ron Perinoski, Don Drysdale, and I really regret the fact that other pitchers have to learn out on the mound instead of having somebody to be able to tell them on the bench. Because a lot of times you can take what you talk about on the bench during a game sitting next to a pitching coach out to the mound with you.
Sandy Koufax threw the first pitch out tonight. What a pitcher. 27-9 his last year, 1966.
That's amazing when you think about it. His last year, and it was his last year because of the arthritic condition. And there he was battling the condition and still winning 27.
With a 1.73 ERA.
Strawberry at first base. Nobody out. McReynolds at the plate. In the 4th inning, Dodgers ahead 5-2. Well, the best testament, I guess, to Perinoski and Stottlemyre, you look at the team's earned run averages. The Mets led the majors 2.91, and the Dodgers were next at 2.96. Unintentionally fouled off to the right. Ron Perinoski, a relief pitcher during that Koufax era.
Great curveball, great sinker, great competitor, as you said to me. Good move. Just to sit on the bench and say, I can hit that curveball, and then I got up there one day. I'd never seen such a slow curveball with such tight spin. I'd already swung twice by the time I got up to home.
0-2 the count. In the Dodger bullpen, Ricky Horton is the left-hander, and Tim Leary is the righty. Now, Leary will probably start Game 5, if there is a Game 5 in New York. But for the moment, he becomes a long man in the bullpen. And Horton was acquired from the White Sox in August to face left-handed hitters. Fouled back, and the count remains 0-2. Fastball, got him. McReynolds strikes out for the second time in the game, and Belcher has 5 in 3 1/3 innings. And Howard Johnson coming up, and this one was clocked at 94.
Watch the ball with a little bit of life. He runs it in on him and gets it by him. We've been talking about McReynolds with a great September, August, one of their hottest hitters. Big out.
Howard Johnson struck out in the second inning. 0 for 4 last night, 0 for 5 in the 2 games, and now 0 for 13 career postseason.
We talked about the extraordinarily high pitch total for Tim Belcher. One of the reasons is he's a high ball pitcher, throws a lot of fly balls, where a guy like Hershiser will throw a lot of sinkers for grounders, double plays.
Strawberry goes. The pitch is swung on and missed, and the throw is a strike to nail him. He stole 29, but he was also caught 14 times this year, which is not a terrific ratio, and that man still has a good arm.
I'll tell you, that was a seed he threw to second base. Strawberry waiting for the left-hander to get up there, and Johnson, before he took advantage of the steal, boy, Socha comes barreling out from behind home plate and just throws a strike. Great throw. And a quick tag. Oh, what a look. Yeah.
So 2 out now. 0-1 the count on Howard Johnson, who tries to bunt his way on, and it's 0-2.
That's a terrible play. You're trailing by 3 runs. The bottom part of the order's coming up, even though Gary Carter can pop the ball out, and Howard Johnson's trying to bunt. We saw Kirk Gibson doing it last night with 2 outs and nobody on. That is a terrible baseball play, plain and simple.
We saw Stubbs try to bunt in unorthodox situations twice last night, and that's the reason he's not in the lineup. One of them, and why Hatcher was inserted. 1-2 the count. To right field, Marshall got a late break on it, didn't read it correctly as it left the bat, but had time to adjust and makes the catch. 2 runs on the Hernandez home run, 2 hits, and nobody left on. Another look at Keith's home run after 3 1/2, 5-2 Dodgers. Driven to deep center field, Shelby racing all the way back, and that one is gone. So the Mets try to climb back into it as Hernandez hits a 2-run homer to make it 5-2. While we're in commercial, this conversation took place.
Well, Peronowski's telling Socha, who's saying, yeah, let's throw some more curveballs, and Dempsey and Tim Belcher, tonight's pitcher, saying, who live in the same neighborhood, let's go together tomorrow to the airport because we want to be in the diamond lane. It's the only way to beat traffic out here.
Sachs takes inside. Well, Dempsey rides in with Belcher.
I told him today, I said, Tim, how did you ever win 12 games riding in every day with that guy? But he credits Rick with a lot of credit. Told me he wasn't turning enough early in the year. Probably hit a couple of home runs for him. Demper having one of his better years this year.
See, if you would have only listened to Rick Dempsey, you'd have probably won 4 Cy Young awards.
And when you think about it, isn't it an appropriate way to get to the ballpark in the diamond lane?
Yes, it is.
1-2.
Haven't I picked you up every day on time?
Yes.
See, the 2 catchers together, Rick Dempsey's kind of like Don Strock was with Don Shula when Marino's out there. They got 2 quarterbacks working kind of in contingency there, and Rick Dempsey trying to get involved. I understand.
Grounded to Johnson, and Howard throws Sachs out to start the bottom of the 4th inning. Now, Dempsey's an amazing story in as much as he went to spring training looking for a job, and he had to beat out Alex Trevino. And there's a man who has caught in the big leagues for 20 consecutive seasons. He spent about 3 or 4 of those early years up and down, but he has been in the big leagues at one time or another for 20 straight years. That's McCarver-like. Hatcher hits one to center field. Dykstra had a tough time reading it and makes the catch. It's very difficult here at Dodger Stadium oftentimes to pick up the ball when you're the center fielder at the crack of the bat, and Lenny had problems there and then gauged it and makes the play.
Of course, what compounds the problem, a lot of times on line drives to center field, it's a knuckleball. Now, that ball is most likely knuckling, and you can see him take a couple of steps back, but a better defensive outfielder than Mookie Wilson, and he corrals it. When that ball starts moving, if you're not on your toes, I mean, I saw some good outfielders get hit in the chest.
You're not on your toes, your eyes move with it.
Exactly.
Gibson at the plate, takes high, ball 1. Gibson battling that hamstring pull, and again he had to sit down over the weekend. He could barely walk and missed the game Saturday and Sunday. Was back in the lineup last night, went 0 for 4 and 0 for 1 with a walk tonight. I was asking him before the game about his condition. He likes to tell you, hey, look, I'm playing. I don't really think about it. And I said, what about if you get to first base in a situation where you want to run? He said, I don't know. I don't know yet.
Yeah, well, every day this series continues. And if it goes past, obviously, Saturday, he gets a chance to get a little bit healthier.
2-1.
When he's been healthy, the Dodgers have played extremely well.
Foul back.
That's why when you're talking about the most valuable player, you have to define it first. Who is the most valuable player to their team? Kirk Gibson, Will Clark, Andy Van Slyke, Darryl Strawberry, Kevin McReynolds. Well, this guy here has made the biggest impact, in my opinion. And even though his numbers aren't as great as the other guys, he's the most valuable player. Now, he hasn't had the years the other guys had, but he's been the most valuable to the Dodgers.
How can you say that? They only went from 73 wins to 94.
Yeah, right. 16 under the last 2 years. I mean, that's the black and white of it as far as I'm concerned. But often the MVP award is given to the player who had the best year.
Mile-high pop-up and playable in foul ground. Carter takes charge, and Gibson gone. Dodgers are gone in order for the first time tonight. To the fifth we go. 5-2 LA. Dodger Stadium, this jewel which opened up in 1962. I think time stands still here. You walk into this place and you think it was built last summer. From the Goodyear Blimp, Columbia, Game 2 of the National League Championship Series, and action resumes in the American League tomorrow. Game 2 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. The Oakland A's, who beat the Red Sox today in Game 2, and then John Tudor to the mound in New York in Game 3 here on Friday, here meaning the National League, against Ron Darling. Shea Stadium, the site, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Darling, by the way, already is home. He flew home earlier today. The Mets will do a red-eye charter and get into New York in the wee hours of the morning tomorrow. But Darling should be well rested.
Yeah, monumental happening up in Boston today, and I'm not talking about Canseco's 43rd home run. I'm talking about Boggs striking out twice. Wow. Once to end the game, once with the bases loaded. Don't see that too often.
1-2 to Carter is popped up. Catcher in foul ground. One away. So Gary is 0 for 2 as he goes back to the dugout, and Wally Backman comes to the plate. You know, Hatcher at first base is a guy trying to get to the World Series after he had spent so many seasons with the Minnesota Twins. They released him last year, just prior to the start of the season, and of course they go on to win the World Championship. So he's got a second chance to make it back to the big show.
Well, as you said, a contact hitter, but also it helps his club defensively. He only made 3 errors. He said the most difficult thing at first, of course, is not knowing your pitchers. He's usually an outfielder. Stubbs, on the other hand, who played last night, as you said, didn't sacrifice a couple of times. 9 errors in his last 23 games, 13 on the season. So Tommy went with a contact hitter, a guy that has much more experience than Franklin Stubbs, and he's got the big hit. I mean, he put Cone out of there. That hanging slider double down the third baseline.
1-1. If you joined us late, the Dodgers scratched down a run in the first inning and then erupted for 4 in the second, batted around to lead 5-0. Keith Hernandez with a 2-run homer in the top of the 4th. It's 5-2, and we're in the 5th with 1 out. And the 1-1 pitch missing, ball 2. 2-1 on Backman. For the moment anyway, Rick Aguilera is on deck. Terry Leach was up and throwing in the bullpen.
Aguilera, a great hitter, so with 2 outs, they may let him pitch a couple more innings. As we said, he has not pitched over 2 innings since his rehab. So, you know, you try to stay in the ball game and have your middle reliever do a good job. Of course, there's Dave Magnan, so maybe we'll see him. Thought he might pinch hit last night for Carter.
Magnan will only hit if Backman's on base.
Yeah, you would figure with 2 out, bases empty, Aguilera would come up, but with Wally getting on here, they'd go to the bench down by 3. And Backman gone on strikes. And that's 6 strikeouts for Tim Belcher. Second time he's fanned Backman, and now Aguilera will come up to hit for himself.
Of course, what he said was a lot of Mets are hanging over the plate. Look where this pitch is. Inside corner, maybe a little bit inside, but when you set up there, you're going to get the strike, and that's what happened.
Those were 3 Linda Ronstadt fastballs. Blew by you.
That was so bad. But I like Linda Ronstadt, no offense.
You're criticizing Linda Ronstadt
No.
now here on national television.
One of my favorites. Everybody's great on national TV, except David Cohn. He was awful.
Blew by you.
Blew by you.
That was Tim McCarver, folks. He can be reached at.
Yes, in Memphis.
That was almost the blew by you special.
That's right. That ball, you're ducking up here my way.
Well, that's what I get for looking at the monitor. You get that behind home plate. Look.
That foul ball right in your living room, folks. Yowzer.
Up close and personal.
Oh, it gives you an idea of how twisting and turning and what a gyroscope that foul ball can be. And believe me, if you're about 80 feet closer, it hurts even worse.
How about if you're 60 feet 6 inches, the other side of it, somebody hits it back up through the middle. Now you wonder why pitchers duck. And then they field their positions.
Strikeout number 7 for Tim Belcher. 5-2 after 4.5. Back in L.A. after this word from your local station.
Even Davy Johnson, manager of the Mets, has days when his pitcher and his stomach balk.
Can't believe he walks the leadoff batter.
Which is why Davy keeps Rolaids nearby. Rolaids antacid is serious medicine that consumes all the acid required to bring millions 100% relief.
Hope he doesn't throw him a fastball.
And on days filled with errors and frankfooters, Rolaids relief is what's needed most.
I should have gone into golf.
Get serious relief. Get Rolaids.
Mike Marshall had a hit last night to drive in a run and 2 run-scoring singles tonight. One and oh. He'll be followed by Shelby and Socha. Rick Aguilera working in relief of David Cohn. 2-0. 2-1. Funny thing about a guy like Mike Marshall, he's been rumored several times in the last few seasons to be traded, and yet here he is still in a Dodger uniform. Kind of reminds me of Bill Russell. They talked about trading Bill Russell, or at least the media did, year after year after year, and he was never dealt. As Marshall is 3 for 3 with a single to center. In the series. Here's Shelby, and I asked John before the game to describe the play last night, the Gary Carter looper.
Well, I known that Jay was throwing him all-speed pitches, and when he threw the pitch, I could see the pitch pretty well from center field, and I saw Carter just go down and hit the ball, and from the impact, I could tell that the ball was not a hard-hit line drive. And when I saw the ball, I honestly felt that I ran in as hard as I could, and the only play that I thought I had would be to make a diving play. And I gave it my best shot, and it didn't look like it.
And here's Shelby at the plate with a count 1-0.
Of course, and that is why he has been the starting center fielder for the Dodgers since they acquired him last year, because he always gives you his best shot, and he has really turned this defense around.
Yeah, and it certainly looked like John gave his best shot last night.
Just appeared that when the double clutch, he didn't realize maybe McReynolds was running or whatever. But again, a fine defensive outfielder. Last year, he had 22 home runs. Never really been a home run hitter. Strikes out a lot. Had the longest hitting streak of anybody in the major leagues this year with 24-game hitting streak. So done a lot of things for him.
Line to right field, but Strawberry gauges it, makes the catch, throws in behind Marshall, who comes sliding back to first. So Shelby rips it. But it's simply a long out, 1 gone. And Marshall remains at first with Mike Socha coming to the plate. There is Marshall. We were talking about Mike, and I mentioned to Bill Russell. Remember all those years about Garvey and Lopes and Russell and Say, and everybody thought when the infield was finally broken up, Russell would be the first guy to go. Nope.
He was the only guy to stay. As a matter of fact, he's thought so highly of in the Dodger organization. He's going to winter ball. He's going down to Lee Say, which is Right, in Santo Domingo, one of 6 teams in the Dominican Republic, but one of 2 teams in Santo Domingo. And he and Joe Ferguson, another Dodger coach, will be down there this year.
Socha wraps one into right field for a base hit. Marshall will stop at second, and so the Dodgers have runners at first and second with 1 out in the 5th inning.
It goes back to what I was talking about. Aguilera has not pitched more than 2 innings all year, so you let him hit, but you stretch it. Balls have been hit extremely hard. Socha not having a great year, but having a good series. I mean, he rifles that one after Marshall starts off this inning with a rocket up the middle. So, you know, Davy Johnson, you're looking at him right there. He's got to make a decision. Yeah, we don't want to use a pinch hitter, but do we want to stay in the game? And that's what long relief's all about, except this guy has not been a long reliever, only 2 innings since August.
Jeff Hamilton hit by a pitch and walk. 0 for 3 last night. 0-1. 1-1. Joe Amalfitano flashes the signs.
He had to get Mike Marshall's attention at second base and look miffed because of that. I mean, what could be on now anyway? 1 out, 1-1, first and second.
2 slow guys.
Yeah.
2-1.
Of course, Mike will resent that. He has stolen 4 bases in only 5 attempts.
Joey got his attention, though, didn't he?
Hey, when you talk about 2 slow guys, don't forget the other night Socha came in to pinch run for Steve Sachs.
I think you should probably explain why.
Yeah, right. It was the Friday night game against the Giants that meant nothing. They just wanted to get Sachs out of the game and Socha in.
Yes.
3-1.
Thank you. We got to keep our credibility.
Absolutely.
What little we have up here.
Now, this is a dangerous pitch to Hamilton right here. He knows he's going to get a fastball. Amalfitano, no way he's giving him the take sign with Griffin and the pitcher due up. So he's obviously got the green light, and if it's to his liking, he's got a lot of power. Just hasn't been developed yet.
And they're loaded up. So Hamilton has been hit by a pitch, and he's walked twice. And with the bases loaded and 1 out, Alfredo Griffin comes to the plate.
The Mets have somebody up in the bullpen, but I think a somewhat imprudent, as we see a lot of, they look Hamilton at first, they're going to play behind him. Double play in order. I assume they will play behind him.
Oh, they're certainly going to play behind him, but Davy Johnson gave the crossed arms, which means halfway. That gives the infielders the option, if the ball's not hit sharply, to come home. And Johnson and Backman both with strong arms, Johnson especially.
And with Leach in the pen, Griffin hits it slowly down to second. Backman tags Hamilton, and that's all they get. Dodgers get a run as Marshall comes in to score, and it's 6-2.
I don't understand that. Davey gave him a halfway, and when you get the arms across, that means to come in. It might be the Mets sign for a double play, but, I mean, if you don't give any sign from the dugout, you're going to play double play depth anyway, so why any sign at all?
How can you play double play depth down 5-2 with a guy with speed of Griffin?
That's, that's probably why Davey gave him the halfway, meaning that on a slowly hit ball, you had the option of coming home. There's a cheap run for the Dodgers.
And the 0-2 pitch is lifted in the air to shallow center. Johnson out, Dykstra pulls him off, and Lenny makes the catch to retire the side. But the Dodgers scratch out another run. And we'll go to the 6th with Los Angeles leading New York 6-2.
And who is this man? A detective on TV, not a baseball player. His name is Tom Selleck. His series is Magnum P.I.
You follow the Tigers as much as you possibly can?
Always. The Honolulu paper needs a little work. It's hard to get details. But and I get the sporting news about a week and a half late.
I thought Selleck was a Tiger fan.
I did too.
Well, he spent 4 months in Baltimore making a movie. And, of course, he took batting practice with the Orioles. And I said, how did it look with that Tiger hat and the Oriole uniform? He said, we had official changing of the hats.
You know, it's surprising. He looked very comfortable in front of the camera.
He did, yeah. I got to find his ticket broker, too. Those are pretty good seats. Club level, just off to the right of the plate. Dempsey and Lasorda.
Budding love affair. One thing about Rick, what he said about Tommy, he said, I've never seen a manager that handles players better. You know, talking about not exactly on the field. I don't want to denigrate Earl Weaver, but he said off the field, I mean, everybody feels comfortable. And I tell you, they certainly have played like it tonight, but all season. I mean, 73 wins to 94. Got to give Fred Clare a lot of credit, and Tommy with the job he's done with the club.
I think Tommy has more or less created that entertainment persona around himself that people forget how good a manager he is.
Absolutely. Len Dykstra lead off. Strike. I mean, Lasorda he's a larger-than-life character, and you think about him as a guy who does commercials and eats a lot of pasta and can be bellicose, and the kind of guy who's made some infamous audio tapes that require numerous edit points, etc., etc. But he's larger than life in a sense. But keep in mind one thing: he's managed 12 years in the big leagues, and he's finished first 6 times.
And in 1980, he played an extra game against Houston. Not much of a hitter now. That's a trick. And in 1982, when Atlanta won it, they won it on the last day of the season.
So 8 times in 12 years, he's taken his team down to the last day. And in the minor leagues, he managed 8 years in the minors, and he won 5 titles there. So, I mean, his record truly speaks for itself, period. He should be the manager of the year. And he might win it this time, because when he's won the title in the past and hasn't won manager of the year, it's because people expected his team to win. But this year, he surprised people, and that really is the key ingredient in being named manager of the year, when they don't expect you to win and you win.
That's why Davey Johnson has never been considered for manager of the year, because he's got a lot of talent, and people think it's too easy. Well, it's certainly not that easy.
Maybe the reason he doesn't have a contract.
Yeah, I think first things first for Davey. He's not worried about manager of the year. He's worried about winning the playoffs.
His team trails tonight 6-2 after winning last night. Dodgers trying to square the series, which would mean, of course, there would definitely be a Game 5 Sunday night in New York.
Of course, you talk about how smart Tommy is. He's got some guys up in the bullpen. Looks like maybe Pena and Horton. And the reason for that is the pitch count we saw last inning. He wants Belcher to be ready if he has to pitch again in this series. He's got some competent guys. Ricky Horton on your right. Alejandro Pena, who's had a fantastic year, really is a setup man, part-time closer when Hal was hurt.
Dykstra draws the walk. Second walk issued by Belcher, and it's make it the third walk. The last one hurt him too. He walked Jeffries prior to Hernandez's home run. Here is Jeffries.
Goes back to that meeting. You want to get into the late innings, you got to get them out in the middle innings. You don't do that by walking the leadoff man.
If Jeffries gets on, he is certainly the last hitter that Belcher will face, with Hernandez, who homered his last at bat, and Strawberry coming up. I mean, that's the reason they got Ricky Horton. It may be that unless Jeffries hits into a double play, Horton will come in to pitch to Hernandez and Strawberry.
And it's grounded to the right side, and Sachs will cut down the lead runner, and Griffin turns it into a double play.
It appeared that Jeffries was spinning his wheels trying to get out of the batter's box. And that's the reason. I mean, Greg Jeffries, the way he runs, is no easy double play man, especially 4-6-3. Yep, he slipped on home plate, and now he's an easy out at first base.
And so instead of what would have been a force Had he not stumbled, it's a double play and 2 out, and the base is empty, and Hernandez at the plate. 0-1.
Terry Leach still throwing down in the bullpen. One would surmise that he will be the pitcher in the bottom of the 6th. Thing is, you don't want to take the guys that are capable of bringing you back out just for the sake of making a double switch. You can't put anybody in Hernandez's place or Jeffries. Maybe Wilson for Dykstra, but you only save one spot in the order doing that. So if Leach comes in the game, he'll probably hit 9th if Hernandez makes an out here.
That's exactly my point. Last inning, you give up another run. You don't have a pinch hitter hit for Aguilera, and what have you done?
2-2. Not quite as close as Keith made it appear.
This is just an effect. I'll tell you what made it closer was the way Hernandez was diving into the ball. That's just good pitching. If you don't pitch inside, you can't win. Unless you're Jim Palmer. and I'm saying that because you rarely pitched inside.
The best time to pitch in is when you're heading to count, and that's what he did. 1 and 2.
Right.
You can make a mistake, get a little bit off the plate. And there's a split finger. See you later.
8 strikeouts for Tim Belcher. At the end of 5 1/2, it remains Dodgers 6, Mets 2.
Okay, Garvey, let's move it. But Tom, I'm hungry, and my Swanson Hungry Man entree tastes so good. It's meat and potatoes and plenty of meat. How about dessert? Oh, you want a Hungry Man dinner. Look, dessert, vegetables, and a second helping of meat is already in. Good eating. That's Hungry Man dinners and entrees. Hey, play ball!
Swanson Hungry Man dinners and entrees. The second helping of meat is already in.
Tommy Lasorda is the gourmet, the connoisseur, loves to eat. He's very used to ordering one from column A and one from column B. And tonight he ordered one from column Cone. And that's the big story of the game right now.
That's column C.
Yeah.
And that was a column that Tommy Lasorda has got a love for the Dodgers to see. I'll tell you that. And the Mets have got a hate for the Dodgers to see it. Because you do not want to stir up any team. Let sleeping giants lie, as a guarantee.
And then make bad pitches.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a very important part of the story.
Sachs tries to bunt his way on and runs into the ball in fair territory, and he's out. And here comes Tommy Lasorda, who will argue this, and it's plain and simple. If you run in to your own batted ball, and Terry Leach is the new pitcher, in fair territory, you're gone. And that's what McSherry says. And, of course, we'll take a look at it in a second. And Tommy Lasorda is contending, no, he didn't.
He was trying to drag the ball down the third baseline. It'll be scored 2 unassisted. A put out for the catcher, Gary Carter.
And that will be the first out in the 6th inning as Sachs leads off. Here it is.
Yeah, you could, of course, really, I wonder why he's arguing so long. I mean, either John McSherry sees it or he doesn't.
That appeared from that shot. Oh, yeah. And see, it looks like he runs into the bunt. Yeah, it's a fair ball, and he hit it.
The play's right in front of John. He makes the call, and that's what he's supposed to do.
It might be the best shot right here. Right-hander, more vulnerable to this type of play than a left-hander. It's a fair ball, and he ran into it. It was a good call.
Clearly. Here's Hatcher with 1 out. 1-0 on Mickey. Big double in the 2nd inning. A 2-run double. He also scored a run in the 1st. To McReynolds in left field for the easy play. 2 gone. Terry Leach in relief of Cone and Aguilera. And he did a nice job in his role this year.
And last year, too.
Again, I was going to say, yeah.
Well, he throws again, and we talked about angles with Dave Cone, and Dave Cone did not have a good night, but Leach is very deceptive. You don't see a lot of guys throwing submarine or from that release point. A little bit of a slider. Ball sinks. Get a lot of ground balls.
Yeah, we saw David Cone's Laredo, and you have a chance to see Terry Leach's Australian, because he's really down under.
Almost like Ted Abernathy. Remember High Pockets, Ted Abernathy?
Washington Senators?
Yeah, with the Cincinnati Reds, Chicago Cubs. Boy, it was a tough assignment to try to hit him.
Take a look at his wind-up in slow motion.
Watch that right knee. The right knee usually hits the ground. That's how low he gets.
Well, a much easier delivery on your arm. If you talk to any orthopedist, he'll said, you know, the softball guy like Eddie Feigner, king of the sport, I saw him when I was 8 years old. He's still throwing softballs. Wouldn't be doing if he was doing it overhand.
3-0 on Gibson.
Now pushing off the rubber. That's why it's out there. And you can see it looks like Tom Seaver doesn't throw quite as hard from a different position. Not as good a slider. Not as many wins. But he's certainly done a good job for the Mets.
18-3 over the last 2 years. You know, Tom Seaver used to wear a knee pad on his right leg. That's how low he got. And Tom Seaver will be throwing out the first ball at Shea Stadium on Saturday. Had his number retired this year, Tom Seaver Day. What a marvelous career for a future Hall of Famer.
Think about the guys who've thrown out the first ball thus far. We had Valenzuela last night, Koufax tonight, Seaver on Friday. Marshall with the runner going. Gibson got a good jump and steals second. And a test case right there. Gibson had to test it. He had to test that hamstring. With a 4-run lead, he felt it was time with 2 out. Let's see what he could do, he says to himself. And he does it well enough. Great jump.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic jump. And you wonder why Carter's only thrown out 21% of the runners. Mets pitchers do not do a good job of holding him on. Of course, Gibson, this is his 32nd steal. See the nice slide to late tag. Tell you, the thing, if you get a guy with that speed and he gets that kind of jump, he's going to outrun the baseball.
Put it in your pocket.
Yes.
Nothing you can do.
Grounded to third, and Jeffries dives and tags him. Gibson didn't think so, but Davidson is right there to call it.
Well, it's really not a good play for Greg Jeffries. He's got the force out at first base. He elected to go after Kirk Gibson, and he got him. An interesting choice for Greg Jeffries, diving to get Kirk Gibson when a strong throw gets Marshall easily at first. It appeared, however, that he gets him right there before the hand touched the bag.
Bob Davison with a busy night at third. Seeing a balk.
Tough call.
Yes, it is. You know, mostly because I don't think he thought he was going to have to make the call, but he is there to make the call, and it's a tough call for an umpire. Real close. I tell you what, looks safe from that angle.
I thought he looked out.
Yeah, well, now it said, well, right there, he's on the play.
I thought he got him.
You think that says something about Jeffrey's inexperience? You know, the fact that Davy Johnson said this is an offensive club.
Maybe. Yeah.
Johnson is short and Jeffrey's at third.
Ball 1 to Strawberry, 1-0.
Of course, he is smart enough to know that Gibson's probably going to score if he doesn't make a good throw to first because of his speed.
Soft little looper right into the glove of Alfredo Griffin. So Strawberry, to a mocking Darrell chant, goes back to the dugout.
I'll tell you one thing, in baseball there is a saying, folks, when you get jam like that in the kitchen, I think that got Darrell in his garage somewhere. I mean, that really sawed him off.
It's back to what Belcher said. He said, you know, you sit on the bench, you look at last night's game. He said they looked very comfortable in balls away. So where's he go? Inside. He's been able to do it. Makes that pitch away a little more effective.
Kevin McReynolds, the batter, 0-1. McReynolds remarkably consistent. 25-plus homers, 95-plus RBIs in each of the last 3 seasons. He's the only National Leaguer to do that. He doesn't quite come up to the 30 and 100 figures, though, which are kind of magical in a way. To right field and deep, but very playable for Marshall. 2 gone. And Howard Johnson will stroll to the plate with 2 out of the bases empty in the 7th inning. Reminder again, regional college football. You'll see either Ohio State at Indiana or Washington at Arizona State at 3:30 Eastern time on Saturday. And again, that will be sandwiched in between the National League playoffs starting at noon Eastern. And later that night, the American League playoffs from Oakland. So a very big day Saturday on ABC Sports. Howard Johnson takes a strike. And again, tomorrow night, the American League Game 2, prime time, 8 Eastern. National off, and we'll talk to you from New York Friday, prime time, 8 Eastern, Game 3. 0-2. That's all Johnson's seeing.
Yep. Right. And of course, to be in the situation to do that, you got to get your breaking balls over. Howell did it last night. Hershiser did it. And Belcher's done it tonight, at least to Hojo. You know, it doesn't do any good to throw him if you're not getting him over. That's when he'll start seeing the fastballs, and that's what he wants to see.
And he does, and he can't capitalize on it. After 6.5, 6-2, Los Angeles. Back after this word from your local station.
IBM presents You Make the Call. A pitch in the dirt bounces up and hits the bat. The ball rolls into fair territory where the catcher picks it up and throws to first. Is the batter out? You make the call. A pitch in the dirt is not considered a dead ball, so if it is hit, accidentally or not, the ball is in play. If you said the batter was out, you made the right call.
Bottom of the 7th inning, as the Dodgers in Game 2 lead the Mets 6-2. And John Shelby leads off. It'll be Shelby, Socha, and Hamilton. Dodger Stadium, where the crowd went home in agony last night. Dodgers a strike away, and the Mets pulled one out 3-2. A different story thus far tonight. 6-2 Los Angeles. The Dodgers with a run in the first, and then 4 in the second. The Mets 2 runs coming on a Hernandez 2-run homer in the 4th. Dodgers got 1 more in the 5th. 1-2 on Shelby.
Hey, hitting off Terry Leach is a good tune-up for Roger McDowell. Except the ball sinks a little more velocity, a little more sinkature, to coin another word. Or shall we say sinking action. Look, I said breakature early in the year. I mean, I might as well have a little sinkature here tonight. Leach started back in 1976 and talking about Blue Bayou down in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. Shelby is gone. John has struck out for the 2nd time tonight, 3rd time in this series. There's McDowell.
Catcher, Mike Socha.
I mean, I don't know how many real clothes he travels with, but I mean, he must travel with 3 suitcases worth of masks.
Yeah.
And paraphernalia.
A lot of time when you're a short reliever to think of things out in the bullpen.
Yeah.
If you are so inclined, and believe me, he is so inclined.
Socha fouls one away, and the count 0-1. Hernandez to Leach covering. Socha becomes out number 2 in the 7th inning. It'll bring up Jeff Hamilton. You know, we were talking about kids and the expectant fathers and mothers on the Mets. Last night, we were talking about Don Drysdale and his wife, Ann Myers, and they had a baby boy about a year ago. So I meet him for the first time out behind the booth after the game, and I lean down and say, the kid hits me right in the face. I said to Don, it must be in the genes.
It's in the genes, believe me. Don Drysdale leads the National League in hitting batters 156 times. The winder plunked opposing batters. So little Donnie following in his dad's footsteps.
Yeah. The kid's going to go through life with an 0-2 count. 0-1 on Hamilton. And it's quickly 0-2. Hamilton gone. Leach strikes out 2 in the inning. On to the 8th we go. Still 6-2 Dodgers in Game 2. Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, and Tim McCarver. Game 2 moves to the 8th inning. Tim Belcher, 115 pitches through 7. Again, a rookie who won 12, and he was moved up in the playoff rotation because they wanted to give John Tudor a couple of extra days rest. And coming back from last night's horrific defeat, he has done a terrific job.
He certainly has. There's the mixture of pitches. Fastball well into the 90s. Of course, Tommy's not going to let him go that much farther if he has any trouble. I suppose if he has an easy inning like last inning, but he does have, again, looked like a Roscoe up out in the bullpen along with Pena. So if he gets in trouble, we'll probably see some help.
Carter, Backman, and then a pinch hitter in the 8th inning. Scioscia comes back toward the dugout boxes, makes the catch. Mets have been limited to 3 hits. Jeffries a double in the first, and then Hernandez hit a home run, and Strawberry singled in the 4th, and that's it.
The only thing a catcher worries about on a simple play like that is going too far under. You don't want to be backpedaling, so that's why you find the ball, throw the mask, and then go after the ball. That's your 1, 2, 3 in catching a foul ball, because the ball is always going to come back to you, and the danger lies in running too far under it. Routine play for Scioscia.
Wally Backman is 0 for 5 in the 2 games, takes a strike. 0-1, and with the pitcher Leach due up next, Mookie Wilson is in the circle to bat for him. One second baseman grounds out to the other as Sachs retires Backman. 2 down with the bases empty in the 8th inning, and Mookie Wilson coming to the plate.
Really, when you go back and look at this acquisition of Tim Belcher, Rick Honeycutt, who you said won today in relief for Oakland, he was 2-12 last year. So you have a chance to give Oakland something they need, a left-handed pitcher, a very good commodity coming out of the bullpen. And also, you get a chance, as you look at Roger McDowell, to get a guy with a great arm in Tim Belcher. Yes, he had control problems, but he hasn't had them since he came to Los Angeles. For whatever the reasons, you know, it could be Peronoski, could be what he said about confidence. He found out that he had good enough ability to get major league hitters out. When he found that out, he started throwing the ball over the plate.
0-1.
Speaks of something like he'd like to finish what he starts, but also when you know that you have a team that set an all-time Dodger record for saves, out in the bullpen, you know you don't have to go 9 innings. If you can, it's a plus. Give him a solid 7 and take your chances.
No balls, 2 strikes on the switch hitting Wilson. And that's 10 strikeouts for Tim Belcher at the end of 7 1/2, 6-2 LA. Here's Roger McDowell out of the Mets bullpen to take over. The inside pitch on Roger from Mike Schmidt.
Roger McDowell's best asset is his overhand sinker, and he very seldom throws it high in the strike zone. He throws mostly balls. I know when I'm hitting against Roger, I always seem to chase that ball down into the dirt and hit a ground ball. That's when he's most effective. And he keeps that ball down and gets the hitter to swing at a ball. He very seldom will throw breaking balls, an occasional slider to right-handed hitters, and hardly ever a breaking ball to a left-handed hitter. Another good asset that he has is his ability to field. He might be the best fielding relief pitcher in the game today. He holds runners on well, and he loves to pitch. He's not afraid of any situation.
Mike Schmidt with a full rundown on Roger McDowell, who normally comes in tight situations, but here, with the regular season having ended Sunday and the off day Monday and not having pitched last night, and if they don't use him tonight and the off day tomorrow, when you're a short man, you got to get your work in.
Well, especially with Roger, he has struggled. He pitched well the other day on Sunday, but talking to Mel Stottlemyre, he said his problem has been getting the ball up. So if you have a couple more off days, more likely or not, that's where your sinker is going to be. About belt high, it doesn't sink, and the ball gets launched.
1-0. There is Peter O'Malley, the president of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, his father, Walter, owned the team, the late Walter O'Malley, for many, many years, and built this ballpark with private funds when the Dodgers moved west. There are owners and there are owners, and we hear and read about a lot of them. And then there are those who are very, very quiet, like Peter, who just does his work. And even when the team comes back as they have this year, he is the last guy to attempt to step into the spotlight.
That could be said really about the Mets owners too, Nelson Doubleday and Fred Wilpon. Very quiet ownership for both of these clubs. They let the people they hire do their jobs.
And for Peter, I know that this has to be a particularly satisfying year because living here, I know full well there has been a lot of Dodger bashing over the last 2 years, to the point where they said, hey, wait a second, all they care about now is making money because they didn't sign free agents and they don't really care about putting a good team on the field. And they heard that for 2 years. Strawberry backs up and makes the catch. On the fly ball by Griffin. And Belcher will come to the plate. He'll get a big hand as he stands in. There is the locker. We mentioned all of the accoutrement that accompanies McDowell on the trips.
He and President Nixon, even though he has that mask of the President Nixon and Roger, his wife Karen, very good friends, and a big hand here for Tim Belcher. And well-deserved. He has pitched a masterful game.
Go back to the second inning, that hit. Take a look at season high for strikeouts. But you go back to that hit, and then you go back to what Mike Schmidt said about a good fielding pitcher. If Dave Cone does not fall off, he ends that inning. There's 2 outs, routine ground ball back up the middle. Instead of being the 3rd out, it goes into center field. And then you get the hit by Sachs, the double by Hatcher, and you're talking 4 runs, which is a difference in this game.
That was the inning the Dodgers scored the 4 runs. It could be a 2-2 ball game, but the hit by Belcher, a big, big hit.
Belcher gone, but he'll still get a big hand as he goes back to the dugout. We can count on that.
Second baseman, Steve Sachs.
2 gone. Boy, it's such a weird game. The Dodgers lead with their ace last night. Everything going along beautifully. They couldn't have written a better script through 8. Roof caves in. Now you come back after as distressing a loss as you can ever absorb. And you come back with a rookie against the 20-game winner, and you're 3 outs away from tying up the series.
You know, when you get to this point in the season, though, you look at Gooden. Everybody's last night we flashed that 0-3, even though he's pitched extremely well in the playoffs. He didn't get the win. Myers did, but Gooden gets the team win because he kept his team in the ball game and gave him a chance to come back. Same with Hershiser. Things didn't work out well. Same for Jay Howell. Made all the pitches he wanted to, but was unlucky. You know, so far we've really seen good pitching performance from all pitchers except David Cone. Of course, he'll probably have another chance to pitch in this series. I'm sure he hopes so.
Well, I'll tell you, you may see one of the other teams coming back from a 2 or 3 run deficit. But I think if either team jumps out in front 4 or 5 runs, you can almost call it a night. Because these pitching staffs on both teams are of the quality mode, I'll tell you.
You look at that scoreboard, that 4 is something we're not going to see too often. In fact, Orel Hershiser said, I would be surprised if we see any one-sided ball games.
Bulldog and T-Bone. Hershiser and Shelby. McDowell and Mike Schmidt told you he feels his position as well as anybody in baseball. Makes it look easy. To the 9th we go. Dodgers lead 6-2. A Dodger win and it's 3 outs away would mean the series tied 1-1, but then the Mets would have the home field advantage for 3 of the prospective next 5 games.
They'll be going against John Tudor on Friday and Orel Hershiser again on Saturday. With pitching like that, I don't know whether there's a home field advantage or not, Jim.
No, in fact, the only game other than maybe tonight that the Dodgers have been able to win is in Shea Stadium, where they only played 5. They were 0-6 here. I think something, though, what Tommy said is that, you know, we know our fans are going to come out. We want them to get into the ball game. So if it comes back out here, you never know. I think tonight's win, or at least tentative win, proves a lot to Dodgers fans that not only the Dodgers but the Dodger fans, hey, we can win, we can beat the Mets.
Belcher to start The ninth inning to Dykstra, missing high, ball 1. And we can tell you our executive producer is Jeffrey Mason. Tonight's game produced by Kurt Gowdy Jr., our director Craig Janoff, our technical director Mike Blazo. Associate directors Earl Fryman and Jaime Bravo, Mike Cohn and Patty Rotoloso, assistants to the producer Bill Freeberger, our tech manager, Al Danforth, our unit manager, Jim Licata, telecommunications manager, and as always, statistics and research by the incomparable duo Steve Hurt and Alan Watt. Strike, 2-1.
Hey, if the Dodgers win tonight, they get off a snide of several varieties. They've lost 7 in a row to the Mets this year here at Dodger Stadium and 5 playoff games in a row.
And that's grounded down the right field line for a base hit and maybe 2 if Dykstra wants to take the chance, and he does, and he's in there with a double. So a situation here, a 4-run lead. Hatcher could afford to play well off the line, but it turns out costing him.
I tell you, you don't want to mess with the Mets in the 9th inning. They have scored more 9th inning runs than any team in baseball, and that's amazing when you consider the fact that they won 56 games at home. In a lot of those innings, they didn't, in a lot of those games, they didn't even hit in the 9th inning.
Lasorda repositioning as the pitch is up high for a ball, 1-0 to count. And now Socha going to the mound. And the Dodger bullpen is busy.
Well, most relief pitchers would like to come in to start an inning. Well, that can't happen, obviously. But I'll tell you what, the longer you wait, the more pressure you put on your bullpen. And we saw the pitch total was 115 going into last inning. Probably threw another 10 or 12, 15 pitches. So he's up there in pitch count.
You saw Pena, who has normally been the setup man, and Orozco, who would come in to face a left-hander. 1-1. And on deck, you've got Keith Hernandez, and he's followed by Strawberry. There's Keith, so you've got a lefty and then another lefty. And those Caps turned around last night, did their magic. Sharply down to Sachs. 1 out. Dykstra goes to third. Dodgers 2 outs away with a 4-run lead, and Keith Hernandez comes to the plate.
Such a unique situation here. You have your infield back, and of course a fly ball will score a run, but Keith Hernandez is thinking, hey, we need more than just 1 run.
That's hit to right field and in front of Marshall to score Dykstra to make it 6-3, and Hernandez at first base with only 1 out. So Keith has driven in all of the New York runs tonight, and here comes Perinoski, and Ron does make changes. On some teams it's just the manager, but Lasorda sends Perinoski out, and he can make the change, and we'll see about Orozco here with Strawberry coming up. And it will be the former Met. So Jesse Orozco, a big hero for the Mets in postseason '86, comes back to face his ex-mates. There's a live shot of Tim Belcher in the dugout and his line. And he stands to win the game, 10 strikeouts. And then just moments ago, as we dissolved to the tape, here was Belcher upon coming into the dugout. Angry that he couldn't finish the game.
Got to teach him how to do that with his left hand.
Jim, you said that is so true. It's said in jest, but that is really true.
Well, we said he rides into work, so to speak, with Rick Dempsey, and Rick doesn't like to make outs. His car mate doesn't like to not complete ball games.
Here is Orozco now. Jesse, who came over in the offseason deal, the 3-team deal between the A's, the Mets, and the Dodgers. Orozco did not close out a lot of games, especially in the second half. He was used more as a specialist against left-handed hitters, and that's the case right here with Strawberry at the plate.
At 3-0, he was 3-0 in the National League Championship Series. He ended both the National League Championship Series with a strikeout to Kevin Bass, and he struck out Marty Barrett to end the World Series in 1986.
And what they say in the playoffs, the glove that never came down. That picture of Orozco throwing the glove in the air, and you never saw it again. Strike. 0-1 to Strawberry.
As the man we saw last night, Randy Myers, made it possible to make this trade. They were so high on him, they felt that they could trade Orozco, $1 million salary. Said he lost a little velocity, a little sharpness on his breaking ball.
1-1, nothing on the appeal.
Trying to get Darrell to chase the high fastball.
Got to be setting him up for the breaking ball, though. The two fastballs, maybe the only fastballs Darrell sees in this at bat, because Orozco does not want to get beat or hurt on that pitch.
And he loops it into left field, base hit, and that'll bring the tying run to the plate. In the person of Kevin McReynolds, who hit 27 home runs during the regular season.
I'll tell you what, 3 fastballs to Darrell Strawberry. I really don't understand that unless something is wrong with Orozco to where he can't throw the breaking ball. You know he's in there for one batter, and his best pitch has always been the sweeping breaking ball. Strawberry certainly vulnerable to it, especially after the 2 fastballs.
To the bullpen with McReynolds coming up, and 1 out of the 9th. Pena coming in. Here's Alejandro Pena, who needs to get 2 outs. Mike Schmidt's inside pitch on Pena.
Alejandro Pena, another in a long line of great middle relievers we're going to see in the League Championship Series this year. There's not much to Al Pena. Hard, 90-mile-an-hour, heavy sinker on the hands of the right-handers, running away from the left-handed hitters. They'll show an occasional changeup and slider to the right-handed hitters. That's where he runs into problem with his off-speed stuff. He'll just stay with that fastball. He gets hitters out with that fastball. He's an average fielder, an average at holding runners on base, and if he gets to hit, not a very good hitter.
Mike talking about Pena in terms of being a middle reliever, and he has been, for the most part, a setup man for Jay Howell, especially over the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season. But he has closed out games as well, fully capable of doing that, and he's asked to do it here, with the Mets already having scored a run with 2 men on. McReynolds, with his 27 homers during the regular season, is the tying run.
They have thrown the ball right by Kevin McReynolds tonight. Now, that's, of course, Tim Belcher with 94 miles per hour fastball. Pena right around 90. He throws and makes a mistake with a slider. Ball could get pulverized.
Fouled away.
Well, you heard Mike on the inside pitch talking about that exact thing, that he's got to throw the fastball in any tight situation, and usually a long reliever rarely comes in tight situations, even though he does have 12 saves this year.
Popped up a mile high, back of third, foul ground, Hamilton. 2 out. Hernandez still at second. As McReynolds goes back to the dugout, Strawberry is at first, and it's up to Howard Johnson, who has never had a postseason hit. He is 0 for 7 in this series and 0 for 3 tonight. Lasorda, who lived the nightmare last night, pacing in the dugout as Johnson stands in.
And of course, this sets up that really a situation we talked about. Howard Johnson loves the fastball, even though Belcher struck him out on one after throwing a lot of slow breaking balls. Here you got a situation where Johnson can look for the fastball.
It's last night in Rideau as the crowd is on its feet again, hopeful of that very elusive last out.
Joe with 36 home runs last year, 24 this year. Just take a look at Pena's glove. It looked like there was some foreign substance a little bit earlier. Of course, can't see it from that angle. We're not going to be able to tell, but right from behind home plate, kind of a glistening. It might just be a decoy, something for the hitter to think about.
The 0-1 pitch. 0-2 and a throw to first as they tried to sneak it to Hatcher to tag Strawberry, but Darrell got back. 0-2.
Well, excellent play, because this really doesn't have anything to do. You're not talking about the winning run. You're talking about 2 runs if they score, even if you throw it away. But you might create a situation where you don't have to pitch to Johnson. The only thing I think about is that you make Hatcher break on the play. What if he hits a grounder where he was standing?
Yeah, right. So again, the Dodgers are a strike away from a victory.
There's that glistening spot that Jim was talking about in the middle finger of Pena's glove.
So honestly, I haven't seen the ball do anything funny other than take off. Usually, if anything that you're going to throw with something on, it's going to drop.
The Dodgers were to lose this game, I'm not sure they'd get on the plane tomorrow.
No, but really where you're coming from, and it's something I thought about coming out here today, is that just as last night, you don't want Johnson, who had a better year than the guy on deck, to beat you. So here's a home run hitter, 24. Carter did get the game winner last night, only hit 11. So what do you go with? You go with your best. You walk them, and you pitch to Carter.
The runners will go, which would make a force play that much more difficult. There they go, and the pitch is outside, and the go-ahead run comes to the plate.
Of course, the guy we just saw in the Dodger dugout is the guy that has to make a decision. That's Tommy Lasorda. Do you bring in Jay Howell, who had your most saves, who's got 3 or 4 pitches, or do you let Pena, as Mike Schmidt say, fastball pitcher against fastball hitter?
So Pena to work on Carter, with Hernandez at third, Strawberry at second. The tying run, Johnson, is at first. 2 out.
With great speed at first base. Johnson, an outstanding base runner.
Last night's hero, Carter, at the plate. High fly ball toward the line. Marshall is there. The series is tied. Tommy Lasorda, pasta Fajol, and a carton of Rolaids. But he goes to New York even at a game apiece, with Game 3 coming up Friday. 6-3 Dodgers. Back in a minute.
When lunch and a day at the park are too much for Tommy Lasorda, he reaches for Rolaids. Nothing works better for acid indigestion. And why should heartburn take the fun out of the game? Relief. You know how to spell it.
Dodgers win it 6-3 in a must-win situation after last night's distressing loss, thanks mainly to Tim Belcher, who struck out 10 tonight. The rookie who won 12. Tim, sum it up tonight.
Well, Al, I did what I had to do. I tried to stay ahead in the counts, use my breaking pitch when I could. My curveball was unusually good for me tonight. It hasn't been that good all year. And late in the game, I had some good splitters working for my changeup. And I made 3 mistakes that I wasn't real happy with. Obviously, the home run to Hernandez, and then in the 9th inning, I didn't get 2 balls in on Dykstra and Hernandez.
The team has had a lot of trouble scoring runs. It must have felt very odd to have a 5-0 lead early in the game.
Well, that's a whole key. I mean, if, you know, Oral mentioned to me after the game, after I came out, he said, you know, don't worry about the 9th inning. The most important thing you did was put 3 zeros up there so we could break on top. And I got to believe he's right. You know, that's the whole key is for us is scoring runs. If we can get 4 runs or more against these guys, we got a darn good shot of beating them.
Tim, I know a big topic of conversation before the game in the Dodger clubhouse was David Cohn's remarks in the New York Daily News. What effect did that have on the team tonight?
Well, it fired some guys up. Obviously, you know, he had some pretty harsh things to say about some guys on our ball club. He has his opinion, that's fine. But, you know, I think it backfired on him tonight. I really did. I think we could have came in today into the ballpark, been very flat after losing last night with our ace and having a rookie on the mound and myself. But, you know, sometimes little things like that will add a little fuel to the fire and fire some guys up, and it happened tonight.
Tim, thank you very much. Congratulations. See you at Shea Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tim Belcher, the winning pitcher. Alejandro Pena gets the save. They take care of Carter with the bases loaded in the 9th inning. And the Dodgers score early and often and hold on to win it by a score of 6-3 to even the series at a game apiece. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver saying so long from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Final score 6-3 Dodgers. And a reminder tomorrow on ABC Sports. The Oakland A's take on the Boston Red Sox in Game 2 of the American League Championship Series. Stay tuned for Nightline, following your late local news over most of these ABC stations. The topic tonight, the vice presidential debate.